Chapter 2175. Su Fong transmitted his thoughts to the Golden Rainbow King's world spirit in his body. What is the Heaven Filthy Thunder Fruit? The Heaven Filthy Thunder Fruit is the fruit of a creation spiritual item called the Heaven Filthy Thunderwood that was born in the chaos when heaven and earth were first created. The Heaven Filthy Thunder Fruit has no other use except to gather the filthiest aura in heaven and earth and release filthy lightning. Once touched, only the power of the tribulation lightning can remove it. If this Sanskrit boy wants to get rid of the stench on him, he'll have to go through a chaos divine tribulation. The Golden Rainbow King's words made Su Fong's scalp tingle. Fan Su was only at the peak of the sixth firmament of the ultimate God realm. Only when he surpassed the ultimate God realm would he receive a chaos divine tribulation. During this period, he could only slowly enjoy the wonderful smell of the Heaven Filthy Thunder Fruit. Su Fong said, "Golden Rainbow King, you're indeed the king of traps. You actually collected such evil and filthy things." The Golden Rainbow King was furious. "You brat, if not to help you, why would I take out such a precious creation spiritual item? Heaven Filthy Thunder Fruit?" On the altars, the geniuses from noble backgrounds were all shocked. Only the geniuses from humble backgrounds didn't know what the Heaven Filthy Thunder Fruit was. However, seeing Fan Shu's miserable appearance, they naturally knew how terrifying the fruit was. The way the geniuses looked at Su Fong changed. They were full of fear. Just imagine if he suddenly took out such a great weapon when fighting with him. Thinking of this, the geniuses felt a chill run down their spines. It was as if their bodies were frozen. Cultivators who ascended from the great world only know how to use such despicable and filthy methods. A snort of laughter came from one of the altars. It was Buji. Although this person was a monster that was neither yin nor yang, his cultivation of the great Tao of yin and yang made it into the top 100. Everyone looked at Su Fong with hatred and disgust. Goddess Luo also sent a voice transmission. "Su Fong, you must be careful not to touch the Heaven Filthy Thunder Fruit. Otherwise, you'll stink like Fan Shu. Xuanxin and I won't go near you." Su Fong rubbed the tip of his nose helplessly. Only Tao Emperor waved his hand and unleashed a Xianguang, enveloping the altar where Fan Shu was. As expected of an Emperor Realm Master, he was actually able to completely isolate the stench of the Heaven Filth Thunder Fruit from the outside world, freeing the geniuses from their painful torment. There were still 12 people missing from the top 100 geniuses. Based on the results of the previous 6 Gates of Heaven tests, 100 people were made up. The top 10 geniuses of Yuan Tiangong would be born from these 100 people. Being able to enter the top 100 meant that after entering the Yuan Tiangong, they would be assigned to the Earth realm to cultivate. However, these geniuses now had a higher goal, and that was the Heaven realm. QL11 in Yuan Tiangong, the Heaven, the Earth, the Black, and the Yellow realms. The Yellow realms could accommodate more than 10,000 geniuses. Moreover, the true gods that were brought into the Yuan Tiangong by the geniuses all lived in the Yellow realms. Therefore, the Yellow realms was the lowest region. Only 1,000 people were qualified to enter the Black realms, 100 people were qualified to enter the Earth realms, and only 10 people were qualified to enter the Heaven realms. From this, it could be seen that the cultivation environment of each region and the identity of the geniuses differed greatly. It could even be said that this time's entrance examination, or even the establishment of the Yuan Tiangong, was mainly for these 10 geniuses in the Heaven realms. Which of these 100 geniuses wasn't filled with anticipation? They wanted to reach the heavens in a single step and enter the Yuan Tiangong Heaven realms. Next, it will be the competition for the top 10. I will now announce the rules. Only Tao Emperor said majestically, his solemn gaze sweeping across all the geniuses. Among the 100 geniuses, except for Di Yuan, who was still calm and collected, everyone else's spirits were lifted. The time to truly fight for fortune and change their destiny had come. The top 10 geniuses of the 6 Gates of Heaven tests come out. Only Dao Emperor swept out a Xianguang, condensing it into 10 platforms 100 feet away from the entrance to the Yuan Tiangong, floating in the air. Su Fong felt a surge of spatial distortion from the spell altar beneath him, sending him to one of the platforms. The other 9 geniuses all appeared on the platforms. Di Yuan, Su Fong, Goddess Luo, Il Woyang, Xuanxin, Heavenly Treasure, Fan Shu, Qi Mian, Luo Xingtian, Fei Feng. In the 6 gates of heaven tests, the top 10 geniuses were like 10 blazing suns. Only Dao Emperor said, "These 10 people are the champions of the ring. The others can challenge them, and the winner of the challenge can replace them. The champion can directly advance to the top 10 if he wins 10 consecutive battles." Win 10 consecutive battles? Many geniuses sucked in a breath of cold air, each of them feeling the cruelty of the rules. The results of the 6 gates of heaven tests are nothing. This is the true strength. I might have a chance to fight my way into the top 10. The chance to change my destiny is right in front of me. No matter what, I have to give my all. Some of the geniuses looked at the champions on the platforms, their eyes burning with battle intent. Di Yuan suddenly asked, "If no one challenges the champion, what should I do?" What he said was not impossible. Among the 10 geniuses who accepted the challenge, he was the strongest. Who would dare to challenge him? And then there was Fan Shu. He stank all over. Who would bear the stench and fight with him? Only Dao Emperor said in a deep voice, "If no one wants to challenge, the champion can appoint someone to challenge. The named genius must accept the challenge." The geniuses below immediately became nervous. Let the challenges begin. As soon as only Dao Emperor's voice fell, the geniuses below fell into silence. "I challenge Fei Feng." One of the geniuses flew up from the altar and headed straight for Assaulting Wind. This genius, named Fei Feng, came from a very inconspicuous divine clan in the ancient god realm. Fei Feng did not look outstanding in any way. His face was pale, his body was thin, and he looked sickly. His cultivation was at the 3rd firmament of the divine venerable realm. He could only be considered above average among the geniuses. He was ranked 10th in the previous 6 gates of heaven tests. Hence, he became the first choice of the challengers. The challenger was a 5th firmament of the divine venerable realm genius. After getting on the platform, he cupped his fists at Fei Feng and said, "This one is Ming Tianwang. Your position is mine. I'm very sorry." Fei Feng smiled embarrassedly. "If you want it, take it with your ability." Only Dao Emperor shouted, "Begin!" Boom! The formation around the platform was activated and immediately turned into a vast space. It was like a world of its own. Forests and mountains covered the entire continent. Fei Feng and Ming Tianhuang floated in the air, separated by 1,000 miles. Tao of desolation, heaven desolation, earth desolation, all things desolation. Ming Tianhuang let out a bleak and desolate voice. He quickly formed a seal. A desolate and withered aura quickly shrouded the heaven and earth. All things in the heaven and earth withered. The world that was originally full of life turned into a desolate space. Ming Tianhuang let out a proud expression. But who knew that Fei Feng's figure would flash and disappear without a trace? Ming Tianhuang felt a cool breeze pass by him. Immediately after, his neck felt cold. Then, Fei Feng's ethereal voice came from behind him. "You lost." Ming Tianhuang's face was filled with shame. If Ming Tianhuang wanted to kill him just now, his head would have already been separated from his divine body. He originally thought that he could easily defeat Fei Feng. He even considered how to deal with the challengers after becoming the arena lord. He didn't expect to lose so quickly. Su Fong used his great perfection ability, and at the same time, he used his all-seeing eye. He saw the entire process clearly. Windsurfer has cultivated a wind-type true body. His divine body can transform into formless wind, and his speed is unbelievably fast. This person is very strong. No wonder he was able to rank 10th in the first 6 gate of heaven tests. Ming Tianhuang's defeat made the geniuses below realize that the results of the first 6 gates of heaven tests were enough to represent the genius's true strength. Not many of the top 10 geniuses got there by luck. Fei Feng has won one match. Next, only Dao Emperor said majestically. The audience was silent for a moment. I, Buji, would like to challenge Su Feng. Buji stepped out from the altar step by step. He carried an unparalleled, domineering aura as he arrived on the platform where Su Feng was. Su Feng, this young master is going to reveal your true form as a so-called genius today. Buji gritted his teeth. There wasn't any deep hatred between Buji and Su Feng. It was just a dispute caused by personal feelings. However, Buji made a mistake in cultivating the yin-yang great Tao. Not only did he turn into a monster that was neither yin nor yang, but his personality was also twisted. He had a strange temperament and would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. In addition, in Buji's opinion, Su Feng was relying on a powerful and evil expert as his subordinate. His true strength wasn't enough to withstand a single blow. Naturally, he was going to pick a soft persimmon this time. I might not be able to make you reveal your true form. Su Feng revealed a mocking expression. He then said, "Your face is covered with such a thick layer of foundation. It will be difficult to make you reveal your true form." The geniuses below couldn't help but roar with laughter. Xuanxin and Goddess Luo couldn't help but smile as well. Su Feng was indeed a little too vicious. He was specifically trying to expose Buji's scars. Buji let out a beast-like roar. "This young master is going to break your teeth one by one and cut off your tongue to feed to the dogs." Only Dao Emperor shook his head and thought to himself, "These geniuses from ancient divine clans are proud and arrogant. Their temperament is still lacking. They haven't even started to fight, and their Dao hearts have already been messed up by Su Feng's casual words. How can they not lose? Let's begin." Only Dao Emperor waved his hand. Su Feng and Buji appeared in the sky above a vast material territory. "Su Feng, let's see if your strength is as good as your mouth." Buji let out an angry roar. An illusory image of a divine sun surged out of one of his eyes, while a bright moon condensed in the other. Light shot out from his eyes. A yin and yang divine power that alternated between day and night suddenly erupted and enveloped Su Feng. "I'll let you know what the true yin and yang divine power is." Su Feng shouted domineeringly as he displayed the yin and yang divine power of the world. Although Buji's divine power was also a type of yin and yang Tao, it couldn't escape the category of the heavenly Tao. Su Feng's yin and yang divine power was a supreme heavenly Tao. The result of the collision between the two types of yin and yang divine power was imaginable. Boom, boom, boom. Buji's divine power crumbled layer by layer as Su Feng's yin and yang divine power of the world smashed into his divine body. His defenses were shattered and he spat out blood. His internal organs and divine dwellings were all injured. Chapter 2176. Buji finally understood what it meant to be unable to withstand a single blow and what it meant to be crushed. Although he was filled with indignation and anger, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and admit defeat. What else could he do? If this continued, it would only add to his humiliation. Buji is the #1 genius of the Yin tribe. The Yin tribe's yin-yang great Tao mystique is famous in the myriad worlds. Why is Buji unable to withstand a single blow? It's not that Buji isn't strong enough, nor is it that Su Feng is too strong. It's just that Su Feng has cultivated an inner world. It's as if Buji is a river and Su Feng is a vast ocean. How can a river compete with an ocean? Su Feng is a cultivator who ascended from the myriad worlds. I didn't expect him to be able to cultivate the supreme heavenly Tao and even cultivate an inner world. This person is indeed blessed. The geniuses below whispered among themselves. The way they looked at Su Feng changed instantly. Their eyes were filled with shock and fear. Il Woyang, Qi Mian, and the other top 10 geniuses were also secretly sizing up Su Feng. There was fear in their eyes. Di Yuan glanced at Su Feng. He seemed to be playing it down. The third challenger was Celestial Bao. Celestial Bao's terrifying strength was displayed before everyone's eyes. Not only did he have a divine body that was as strong as a divine artifact, but he also had all kinds of great Tao mystiques at his fingertips. It was a dazzling sight. Moreover, each great Tao mystique displayed astonishing power, especially the power of the fire element. When Celestial Bao was first born, Su Fong had witnessed him killing the great Star Hall's elites. After ascending to the myriad worlds, this was the first time he saw Celestial Bao display his strength. It was very different from before. Celestial Bao was a divine artifact that Celestial Bao had spent his entire life refining. He could be said to be the darling of heaven and earth. He was born with an astonishing capacity for cultivation and was not restricted by the Godhead. However, the various great Taos that he cultivated were very mixed. Although they were endless, they were not on the same level as Su Fong's supreme heavenly Tao. Celestial Bao might have the consciousness of a deity, but he was like an emotionless monster. His attacks were ruthless. In less than half an hour, he had severely injured his challenger and won with ease. The next one to be challenged was Xuanxin. There were two women in the top 10. They were Goddess Luo and Xuanxin. Goddess Luo gave off an unfathomable feeling, which made the geniuses who challenged her feel apprehensive. For the time being, no one dared to challenge her. As for Xuanxin, she was very famous in the ancient god world. After all, she was a woman. Furthermore, although she had performed well in the previous 6 Gates of Heaven tests, she was not as dazzling as Di Yuan, Su Fong, and Goddess Luo. QL11, therefore, some people thought she was a pushover. After Tian Bao defeated his challenger, 3 people immediately challenged Xuanxin. In the end, a brawny man with messy hair jumped onto the platform where Xuanxin was. The burly man grinned, revealing his yellow teeth. I heard that you're Su Fong's Tao companion. Since Su Fong is already in the top 10, you should be giving birth at home, but you came here to compete with others. Go down the platform obediently. I don't want to hurt you by accident. Your crying is so annoying. Su Fong could not help but laugh. This barbarian-like guy probably had a screw loose in his head. It was really unbelievable that he could fight his way into the top 100. Xuanxin's eyes seemed to be sealed in ice. She exuded a cold aura. The array formation on the platform released its divine power. The space around the two of them immediately changed, turning into a material world. Be careful, woman. The brawny man laughed like a ferocious beast and took out a flying sword. This flying sword was black and was more than 10 times thicker than an ordinary flying sword. It was a very rare, heavy sword. He pointed the huge sword at Xuanxin from afar. Traces of sword chi flashing with lightning radiance burst out from the brawny man's body. Rumble. In the sky above, thunder rumbled and dark clouds rolled. A terrifying aura of destruction enveloped heaven and earth. This brawny man, who looked like a barbarian, actually cultivated the great Tao of lightning. In the dark clouds, lightning danced wildly like divine dragons. Heaven and earth instantly darkened. The only light was the lightning that tore through the sky from time to time. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Woman, don't be so scared that you're pissing your pants. The brawny man laughed wildly. The flying swords circled, and countless lightning bolts fell from the sky with destructive divine power. They enveloped the flying sword like a divine dragon rushing out. Xuanxin smiled coldly and struck out a shocking seal. An ice elemental divine power swept out in an instant. The rolling lightning suddenly paused, as if it had been frozen. Then there was a series of cracking sounds as it turned into ice cubes and fell to the ground. Then it turned into nothingness. Ice elemental divine power can actually freeze lightning. The brawny man was dumbfounded. It could even freeze lightning elemental divine power. Such a terrifying ice elemental great Tao mystique was indeed terrifying. The next moment, Xuanxin formed another seal with his hands. Then he separated his palms. A white mist of ice burst out with a terrifying divine power that could freeze heaven and earth. Heaven and earth instantly turned into a world of ice and snow. The brawny man wantonly released lightning bolts, shattering Xuanxin's ice elemental divine power layer by layer. The power of lightning was the most domineering power in heaven and earth. However, it was not without its flaws. It could only last for a short time. No matter how powerful a lightning elemental divine cultivator was, they could not continuously use their ice elemental divine power. In less than half an hour, the brawny man was swallowed by Xuanxin's ice elemental divine power and turned into an ice sculpture. The brawny man was sent to the spell altar below by only Dao Dizun. The remnants of the ice elemental divine power had been removed by only Dao Dizun. The brawny man was still shivering from the cold. His eyes were filled with lingering fear. He trembled and said, "This woman is too fierce." Su Fong, powerful. In the next round, Qi Mian, who was ranked 8th in the previous 6 gates of heaven, was challenged. However, something unexpected happened in this round. A genius named Chu Bingyin challenged Qi Mian. He used an extremely strange cold flame and defeated Qi Mian, becoming the new champion. This was the first time that someone had successfully challenged the top 10. Chu Bingyin immediately made everyone look at him in a new light. In the previous 6 gates of heaven tests, this Chu Bingyin did not reveal his true strength. No one expected him to display such powerful strength now. Chu Bingyin's success in his challenge made everyone eager to give it a try. Their fighting spirit was ignited. However, reality was incomparably cruel. The next 3 rounds all ended in failure. Goddess Luo, Yi Luoyang, and Luo Xingtian won easily with their absolute advantage. Su Fong watched every battle intently. He recorded the entire process with the Divine Sky Divination Wall, and then secretly deduced it with the Heavens Divination Mystic Solution. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. With the help of the Divine Sky Divination Wall and the Heavens Divination Mystic Solution, Su Fong had a very deep understanding of the opponents he would face next. In the following battles, his chances of winning would definitely increase greatly. In the first round, only Di Yuan and Fan Shu did not accept the challenge. However, after waiting for a long time, no one dared to challenge them. Di Yuan was really too powerful. He was so powerful that many geniuses had lost the courage to challenge him. As for why no one challenged Fan Shu, it was not because he was powerful. It was because he was too smelly. He was so smelly that no one dared to challenge him. Only Dao Dizun said in a deep voice, "Since no one wants to challenge him, the champion will name the challengers. Besides those who have already challenged him, everyone else can name the challengers." Fan Shu. Fan Shu's eyes were filled with violence as he looked down at the altar below. He pointed at a genius. "You come up." The genius named by Fan Shu was in his 20s. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes, and was very strong. He was a 5th heaven supreme god genius from an ancient god clan in the god realm. He was very honored to be chosen by Fan Shu. His face was full of bitterness as he cupped his fists and said, "Brother Fan, can you change to someone else?" Fan Shu shouted domineeringly, "Get up here." The young man was furious. "Fan Shu, you and I have no grudges. Don't go too far. If you have the ability, get rid of the stench on your body first, and then fight with me." Whoosh, bursts of laughter rang out. These geniuses had completely forgotten that this was an extremely serious Yuan Tiangong test to enter the palace. They were convulsing with laughter. Some of them laughed so hard that tears flowed out of their eyes. Su Fong secretly regretted it. The heaven-filled thunder fruit made Fan Shu untouchable. Didn't he get a big advantage? Fan Shu gritted his teeth and glared at Su Fong. Only Dao Emperor's mouth twitched a few times. Obviously, he couldn't help but laugh. Then, only Dao Emperor raised his eyebrows and said majestically, "If you don't accept the challenge, it means you admit defeat. Hurry up and get on the stage." The young man snorted. "I admit defeat. Of course, it's not that I'm no match for Fan Shu, but his stench. Therefore, I admit defeat." On the altar and on the platform above, a thunderous roar of laughter rang out. Fan Shu was so angry that she gritted her teeth and stared at Su Fong. "Su Fong, I swear a blood oath that I will skin you alive. Su Fong snorted. If it weren't for the stench on your body, how could you win so easily? You don't want to be repaid. Instead, you vent your anger on me. You really bite the hand that feeds you. Then Su Fong laughed. Your stench is invincible. Fan Shu is also the #1 genius of all time. Goddess Luo and Xuanqing couldn't help but laugh. The other geniuses also laughed out loud and became even more unscrupulous. Fan Shu was furious. Just as she was about to lose her temper, Di Yuan shouted sternly, "Enough. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough?" Only then did Fan Shu stop. However, her eyes were still filled with anger and murderous intent when she looked at Su Fong. Di Yuan casually pointed at a genius below. "I'll choose you." The genius smiled ingratiatingly. "How can I be a match for young Master Di Yuan?" I admit defeat. No one felt that there was anything wrong with this genius's performance. Instead, they felt that it was normal. Not all geniuses had the courage to fight Di Yuan. Chapter 2177. Buji finally understood what it meant to be unable to withstand a single blow and what it meant to be crushed. Although he was filled with resentment and anger, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and admit defeat. What else could he do? If he continued, he would only be humiliated. Buji is the top genius of the Yin tribe. The Yin tribe's Yin-Yang Great Tao Mystique is famous across the universe. Why is Buji unable to withstand a single blow? It's not that Buji isn't strong enough, nor is it that Su Fong is too strong. It's just that Su Fong has cultivated his inner world. It's as if Buji is a river and Su Fong is a vast ocean. How can a river compete with an ocean? Su Fong is a cultivator who ascended from the great world. I didn't expect him to cultivate the supreme heavenly Tao and even cultivate his inner world. This person is indeed blessed. The geniuses below whispered among themselves. The way they looked at Su Fong instantly changed. Their eyes were filled with shock and fear. Il Woyang, Qi Mian, and the other top 10 geniuses were also secretly sizing up Su Fong. Their eyes were filled with fear. Di Yuan glanced at Su Fong and appeared to be nonchalant. QL11, the third challenger, was Celestial Bao. Celestial Bao's terrifying strength was displayed before everyone's eyes. Not only did he have a divine body that was as strong as a divine artifact, but he also had all sorts of great path mystiques at his fingertips, dazzling everyone. Moreover, each great path mystique displayed astonishing divine might, especially the divine might of the fire element. When Celestial Bao was first born, Su Fong had witnessed him killing the elites of the Great Star Hall. After ascending to the Great World, this was the first time he had seen Celestial Bao display his strength. It was very different from before. Celestial Bao was a divine artifact that Celestial Bao had spent his entire life refining. He could be said to be the darling of heaven and earth. He was born with an astonishing capacity for cultivation and was not restricted by the Godhead. However, the various great Taos that he cultivated were very mixed. Although they were endless, they were not on the same level as Su Fong's supreme heavenly Tao. Although Celestial Bao had the consciousness of a deity, he was like an emotionless monster. His attacks were ruthless. In less than half an hour, he severely injured his challenger and easily won. The next one to be challenged was Xuanqing. There were 2 women in the top 10. They were Goddess Luo and Xuanqing. Goddess Luo gave off an unfathomable feeling, which made the geniuses who challenged her feel apprehensive. For the time being, no one dared to challenge her. As for Xuanqing, she was very famous in the ancient god world. After all, she was a woman. Furthermore, although she had performed well in the previous 6 Gates of Heaven tests, she was not as dazzling as Di Yuan, Su Fong, and Goddess Luo. Therefore, some people thought she was a pushover. After Tian Bao defeated the challenger, 3 people immediately challenged Xuanqing. In the end, a brawny man with messy hair jumped onto the platform where Xuanqing was. The burly man grinned, revealing his yellow teeth. "I heard that you're Su Fong's Tao companion. Since Su Fong is already in the top 10, you should be giving birth at home, but you came here to compete with others. Go down the platform obediently. I don't want to hurt you by accident. Your crying is annoying. Su Fong could not help but laugh. This barbarian probably had a screw loose in his head. It was unbelievable that he could fight his way into the top 100. Xuanxin's eyes were like ice, exuding traces of coldness. The array formation on the platform released its power. The space around the two immediately changed, turning into a material world. Be careful, woman. The brawny man laughed like a ferocious beast and took out a flying sword. This flying sword was black and was more than 10 times thicker than an ordinary flying sword. It was a very rare heavy sword. He pointed the sword at Xuanxin from afar. Traces of sword chi flashing with lightning burst out from the brawny man's body. Rumble. In the sky above, thunder rumbled and dark clouds rolled. A terrifying aura of destruction enveloped heaven and earth. This brawny man who looked like a barbarian actually cultivated the great Tao of lightning. In the dark clouds, lightning danced wildly like divine dragons. Heaven and earth instantly darkened. The only light was the lightning that tore through the sky from time to time. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Woman, don't be so scared that you peed your pants. The brawny man laughed wildly. The flying sword circled, and countless lightning bolts fell from the sky with the power of destruction. They enveloped the flying sword like a divine dragon. Xuanqin smiled coldly and struck out a shocking seal. An ice elemental divine power swept out in an instant. The rolling lightning suddenly paused, as if it was frozen. Then there was a series of cracking sounds. It turned into ice cubes and fell to the ground, disappearing into nothingness. Ice elemental divine power can freeze lightning. The brawny man was dumbfounded. It could even freeze lightning elemental divine power. Such a terrifying ice elemental great Tao mystique was indeed terrifying. The next moment, Xuanqin formed another seal with his hands. Then he separated his palms. A white mist of ice burst out with a terrifying divine power that could freeze heaven and earth. Heaven and earth instantly turned into a world of ice and snow. The brawny man wantonly released lightning bolts, shattering Xuanqin's ice elemental divine power layer by layer. The power of lightning was the most domineering power in heaven and earth. However, it was not without its flaws. It could only be maintained for a short time. No matter how powerful a lightning elemental divine power was, it was impossible to continuously use it. In less than half an hour, the brawny man was swallowed by Xuanqin's lightning elemental divine power and turned into an ice sculpture. The brawny man was sent to the spell altar below by only Dao Di Zun's divine power. The remnants of the ice elemental divine power had been removed by only Dao Di Zun. The brawny man was still shivering from the cold. His eyes were filled with lingering fear. He trembled and said, "This woman is too fierce." Su Fong, powerful. The next battle was the challenge of Qi Mian, who was ranked 8th in the previous 6 gates of heaven test. However, there was an accident in this battle. A genius named Chu Bingyan challenged Qi Mian. He used an extremely strange cold flame and defeated Qi Mian. He became the new champion. This was the first time that someone had successfully challenged the top 10. Chu Bingyan immediately made everyone look at him in a new light. In the previous 6 gates of heaven test, this Chu Bingyan did not reveal his strength. No one expected him to display such powerful strength now. Chu Bingyan's success in his challenge made everyone eager to try. They were burning with fighting spirit. However, reality was extremely cruel. The next 3 battles all ended in failure. Goddess Luo, Il Woyang, and Luo Xingtian won easily with absolute advantage. Su Fong watched every battle intently. He recorded the whole process with the divine sky divination wall, and then secretly deduced it with the heavens divination mystic solution. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. With the help of the divine sky divination wall and the heavens divination mystic solution, Su Fong had a very deep understanding of the opponents he was going to face. In the following battles, his chances of winning would definitely increase greatly. In the first round, Only Di Yuan and Fan Shu did not accept the challenge. However, after waiting for a long time, no one dared to challenge them. Di Yuan was really too powerful. He was so powerful that many geniuses had lost the courage to challenge him. As for why no one challenged Fan Shu, it was not because he was powerful. It was because he was too smelly. He was so smelly that no one dared to challenge him. Only Dao Dizun said in a deep voice, "Since no one wants to challenge him, the champion will name the challengers. Besides those who have already challenged him, everyone else can name the challengers." Fan Shu. Fan Shu's eyes were filled with ruthlessness as he looked at the altar below. He pointed at a genius. "You come up." The genius, named by Fan Shu, was in his 20s. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes, and was very strong. He was a fifth firmament supreme god genius from an ancient god clan in the god realm. He was very honored to be chosen by Fan Shu. His face was full of bitterness as he cupped his fists and said, "Brother Fan, can you change to someone else?" Fan Shu shouted domineeringly, "Get up here." The young man was furious. "Fan Shu, you and I have no enmity between us. Don't go too far. If you have the ability, get rid of the stench on your body first, and then fight with me." Hua bursts of laughter rang out. These geniuses had completely forgotten that this was an extremely serious Yuan Tiangong test to enter the palace. They were convulsing with laughter. Some of them laughed so hard that tears flowed out of their eyes. Su Fong was secretly regretting it. The heaven-filled thunder fruit made Fan Shu unchallengeable. Didn't he get a big advantage? Fan Shu gritted his teeth and glared at Su Fong. Only Dao Emperor's mouth twitched a few times. Obviously, he couldn't help but laugh. Then, only Dao Emperor raised his eyebrows and said majestically, "If you don't accept the challenge, it means you admit defeat. Hurry up and get on the stage." The young man snorted. "I admit defeat. Of course, it's not that I can't defeat Fan Shu, but his stench. Therefore, I admit defeat." On the altar and on the platform above, a thunderous roar of laughter rang out. Fan Shu was so angry that she gritted her teeth and stared at Su Fong. "Su Fong, I swear a blood oath that I will skin you alive." Su Fong snorted. "If it weren't for the stench on your body, how could you win so easily? Instead of seeking repayment, you vent your anger on me. You really bite the hand that feeds you." Then Su Fong laughed. "Your stench is invincible. Fan Shu is also the #1 genius of all time." Goddess Luo and Xuanqing couldn't help but laugh. The other geniuses also laughed out loud and became even more unscrupulous. Fan Shu was furious. Just as she was about to lose her temper, Di Yuan shouted sternly, "Enough. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough?" Only then did Fan Shu stop. However, her eyes were still filled with anger and murderous intent as she looked at Su Fong. Di Yuan casually pointed at a genius below. "I'll choose you." The genius smiled ingratiatingly. "How can I be young Master Di Yuan's opponent? I admit defeat." No one felt that there was anything wrong with this genius's performance. Instead, they felt that it was normal. Not all geniuses had the courage to fight Di Yuan. Chapter 2178. Seeing that the geniuses were afraid to move forward, Dao Emperor snorted. "The Yuan Tiangong doesn't need cowards who are too cautious to move forward." The geniuses were ashamed. QL11, a young man wearing a blue and white robe with heavenly marks, flew out from the altar. Duanmu Rinjia challenges Chu Bingyan. Duanmu Rinjia? Su Fong remembered that this Duanmu Rinjia was a genius from the ancient god realm. His performance in the palace entrance test this time was extremely outstanding. After the test of the 6 gates of heaven, he was ranked 13th and had the powerful strength to enter the top 10. This is going to be a fierce battle, Su Fong speculated. Chu Bingyan was indeed extraordinary. He had mastered the power of fire. However, Duanmu Rinjia was also extraordinary. As a genius from the ancient god world, he had a great advantage in terms of techniques, skills, and divine weapons. It would be very difficult for Chu Bingyan to defeat him. The array on the platform was activated and turned into nature. Chu Bingyan and Duanmu Rinjia were in it. "Su Fong," Fan Shu's cold voice sounded. Su Fong raised his eyebrows and covered his mouth and nose subconsciously. Fan Shu gritted her teeth and suppressed her hatred and anger. Do you have the guts to make a bet with me? Let's bet on the outcome between Chu Bingyin and Duanmu Renjia. Bet. Su Fong sneered in his heart. However, he looked hesitant. He looked at Unidao Emperor and said, "This is not a good idea." Unidao Emperor nodded and said, "This is also a test of a cultivator's judgment. I won't object to it. Anyway, this test is very boring. It will be fine as long as you don't go overboard." Su Fong still looked hesitant. "Fan Shu, you can't wait to tear out my tendons and skin me alive. Now, you want to bet with me. You must be plotting something." However, Fan Shu said straightforwardly, "That's right. I want to take revenge on you and make you bankrupt. If you don't dare to bet, then forget it." Su Fong snorted coldly. "Tell me, how do you want to bet?" Seeing that Su Fong was fooled, Fan Shu was secretly delighted, but she didn't show it on her face. "It's very simple. You and I will make a secret bet. We will take out our bets and hide them in our storage rings. Neither of us will know what the other is betting. If one of you loses, you'll have to pay the other party's bet. A hidden bet." Su Fong immediately understood Fan Shu's sinister intentions. All the geniuses in the ancient divinity world had precious treasures with them. Once Fan Shu took out her precious treasure, Su Fong would lose everything. "What if you don't admit your loss?" Su Fong said worriedly. Su Fong had learned from his mistakes in the past. He had made a bet with Feng Jinhuan and won 50 good fortune saint pills from him. In the end, it almost became a bad debt. Even now, Feng Jinhuan still owed Su Fong a lot of good fortune saint pills. Fan Shu snorted disdainfully. With Venerable D as the witness, and in front of so many geniuses, how could this young master go back on his word? Only Dao Di chuckled. "That's right. Who dares to go back on their word in front of this emperor? Now you should be relieved, right?" Fan Shu struck while the iron was hot. "But you, when you lose, I'm afraid you won't be able to afford it. But it doesn't matter. If you can't afford it, you can just swallow the rest of the heavenly filth thunder fruits you have." Swallow the heavenly filth thunder fruits? Fan Shu was really vicious. He had only touched the liquid refined from the heavenly filth thunder fruits, and it was already stinking. If he swallowed it directly, what would happen to him? The geniuses shuddered just thinking about it. Su Fong said decisively, "It's a deal. I'll bet with you." Fan Shu said first, "I bet that Chu Bingyin will win." Su Fong sneered. "You're the one who proposed to bet with me. How can I let you place your bet first?" Fan Shu's deep eyes revealed a hint of nervousness, but she acted as if nothing had happened. "So what if I let you place your bet first?" At this time, Chu Bingyin and Duanmu Renjia had already started fighting. Both of them were testing each other, and they couldn't tell who was stronger for the time being. Xuanqin suddenly transmitted his vital spirit secretly. "Su Fong, don't be fooled. Duanmu Renjia is also a famous figure in the ancient god world. He once defeated someone who surpassed the divine venerable realm." "Xuanqin, I know what I'm doing." Su Fong replied to Xuanqin while staring at the two people in the formation space. His eyes suddenly flashed with misty and mysterious light. It turned out that he had used the mysterious solution of Heaven's Eye, which could peer into the secrets of heaven and see through all laws. Then, Su Fong used the life-shrinking technique to sense the fate of Chu Bingyin and Duanmu Renjia. Fan Shu shouted impatiently, "Su Fong, if you're deliberately stalling for time, we don't have to bet." Su Fong smiled and said, "Who said we don't have to bet? I bet that Chu Bingyin will win." "Deal. I bet that Duanmu Renjia will win," Fan Shu said without hesitation. Then, she released a xianguang and swept up a storage ring. It flew out of the platform and floated in the void. Su Fong also took out a storage ring and placed it next to Fan Shu's storage ring. At this time, a genius suddenly said, "I want to join in the fun. You won't object, right?" This person was wearing a starry robe and had an imposing appearance. There was a starry mark between his eyebrows, and his whole body emitted a starry aura. Obviously, he cultivated the Tao of stars. Luo Xingtian. In the previous 6 Gates of Heaven test, this person was ranked 9th. His cultivation was extraordinary, reaching the shocking height of the seventh heaven of divine venerable realm. Su Fong said, "I don't have any objections." Fan Shu nodded and said, "Of course." Luo Xingtian also took out a storage ring and said, "I bet that Duanmu Renjia will win." As soon as Luo Xingtian finished, the indifferent voice of the three-eyed Il Woyang came. "I also bet that Duanmu Renjia will win." Il Woyang looked at Su Fong without hesitation. A lowly ant who ascended from a great world should keep a low profile. "I just can't stand your arrogance." Su Fong touched the tip of his nose. It seemed that his performance in the Six Gates of Heaven test was equivalent to offending all the geniuses in the ancient god world. However, Su Fong didn't care about other people's opinions. It was exactly what he wanted to see. "I bet that Chu Bingyin will win." Xuanqin showed a rare, heroic spirit of a woman. She supported Su Fong without hesitation and took out a storage ring. "Su Fong, you and Xuanqin are bullying others. I won't get involved." Goddess Luo sent a message to Su Fong with her primordial spirit. Di Yuan sat cross-legged on the platform and didn't intend to participate. He was obviously disdainful. At this moment, Fan Shu showed a domineering smile as if victory was already in her hands. "Su Fong, just wait to swallow the heaven-filthy thunderfruit. This time, you will definitely lose." Il Woyang said indifferently. The Duanmu Divine Clan is one of the top 10 supreme divine clans in the universe. Duanmu Renjia is the #1 genius of the Duanmu Divine Clan. Not only that, during Duanmu Renjia's test at the 5th level of heaven, he comprehended the Chaos Sea and created his own wood elemental Great Tao Mystique. After 1,000 years of cultivation, his strength increased tremendously. Even I might not be able to defeat him, let alone this unknown Chu Bingyin. Luo Xingtian sneered. "Su Fong, I heard that you obtained the Golden Rainbow King's treasure. What right do you have to monopolize the legendary Golden Rainbow King's treasure? This time, I will make you spit it out obediently. It's best if you take out the sky-piercing Golden Rainbow. You are all so confident. Maybe the result will disappoint you." Su Fong smiled casually. Then, he sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. He actually looked as if he didn't care about the battle between Chu Bingyin and Duanmu Renjia. Fan Shu snorted. "Stop pretending. I will make you cry until there are no tears left." After a short moment of probing, Chu Bingyin and Duanmu Renjia executed their formidable divine abilities. The fire element divine might executed by Chu Bingyin was extremely strange. Not only did it not possess the scorching and violent aura of ordinary flames, it instead caused others to feel bone-piercing coldness. Most terrifying of all was that the icy cold flames were capable of penetrating through divine artifacts and aura defenses before seeping into the body of a god, causing the divine energy and magic energy of a god to be burned into nothingness unknowingly. Duanmu Renjia was indeed an extraordinary genius. He executed the wood element divine might with a calm expression and seemed to be extremely confident. The seals he formed with his hands were dazzling, and numerous lush green leaves swiftly condensed in the void before drifting towards Chu Bingyin. The seemingly harmless leaves dyed the void green wherever they went, converging into a surging sea of green tides that threatened to engulf Chu Bingyin. Hiss! Hiss! The divine might collided with each other, and the green ocean was instantly burned into nothingness. Meanwhile, Chu Bingyin's divine flame divine might was also completely wiped out. "Chu Bingyin, you are qualified for me to execute my self-created divine ability. Spring and autumn plants." Duanmu Renjia reached out and grabbed a black seed with a hard shell. His divine energy and magic energy surged into the seed crazily before rolling it out. A series of cracking sounds could be heard from the seed as a tender sprout rapidly broke out of the shell. After that, it sprouted at an unimaginable speed and quickly grew into a towering tree that covered the sky. A pure wood element divine might enveloped the heaven and earth. It was not over yet. The tree rapidly started to shed its leaves and withered, turning into a dead tree. The power of the heavenly Tao from the birth to the growth to the withering caused all life in the world, created by formations and divine abilities, to turn into ashes. Su Feng, you will lose for sure. Fan Shu's wild laughter was followed by an extremely stinky aura. Duanmu Renjia, you have a self-created divine ability, but do you think I don't have one? Moreover, my self-created divine ability is executed on the basis of the primordial heavenly flame. How can you resist it? Chu Bingyin shouted domineeringly. The divine ability of flames that he released suddenly changed. The cold and eerie aura instantly turned into a blazing divine might of flames. A kind of energy that went from extreme cold to extreme heat suddenly incinerated Duanmu Renjia's divine might layer by layer. In the end, there was nothing left. Duanmu Renjia's divine body was also like a dead tree that was ignited. It started to burn. I admit defeat, Duanmu Renjia hurriedly shouted. At this moment, he felt that his divine body and divine residence were burning. Even his yang spirit was being roasted in the fire and was about to melt at any moment. Only Dao Di Zun executed his divine might and eliminated the divine might of flames on Duanmu Renjia's body before sending him back to the altar. Chapter 2179. Fan Shu, Il Woyang, and Luo Xingtian had full confidence in Duanmu Renjia. They thought that Chu Bingyin would definitely lose this time. They didn't expect that Chu Bingyin had hidden his strength. The sudden explosion of flame power not only defeated Duanmu Renjia, but also caused them to suffer. Su Feng is from the great world. What powerful treasures can he have? Even if he loses this time, it won't be a big loss. Luo Xingtian comforted himself. However, Fan Shu wasn't so optimistic. Su Feng had the Golden Rainbow King's treasures. If he bet all the treasures in the treasury, how could he afford to pay for it? However, he still held on to a sliver of hope. Even if Su Feng had the Golden Rainbow King's treasures, he couldn't bet all of them at once unless he was 100% sure that Chu Bingyin would win. Il Woyang sneered. So what if he wins? As long as he dares to reach out for them, I'll break his claws. I'm really sorry for making you three spend so much money. Su Feng chuckled. He was in a good mood. Xuanqin, you go first. Xin Xian took out the storage ring that she had used to make the bet. From the ring, she took out a crystal clear ice flower. It was only a foot long, but it was emitting an ancient and extremely cold aura of the great Tao and the power of creation. Only Tao Emperor's expression changed. You little girl, you're using the ancient Divine Phoenix clan's most precious treasure, the Heaven's Tears Soul Crystal, as a bet? Heaven's Tears Soul Crystal. Fan Shu, Il Woyang, and Luo Xingtian's faces turned pale. The Heaven's Tears Soul Crystal was a creation spiritual item that was born in the coldest place when heaven and earth were created. It was said that it was condensed from a drop of tear from the heavenly Tao. The three of them were from the ancient divine clans. These divine clans in the ancient divine world had a strong foundation and naturally didn't lack creation spiritual items. However, that was the Shun clan, not the three of them. No matter how talented they could not represent the entire Shin clan. Even if the three of them went bankrupt, they would not be able to afford such a creation spiritual item. Only then did the three of them realize that phoenixes did not dwell in places without treasures. The Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan had many treasures. This was something that everyone in the universe knew. Xuanqin was a peerless genius who had been carefully nurtured by the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. Naturally, he had many treasures. But that was the Heaven's Cold Tear Soul Crystal, a supreme spiritual item born from the heavens and earth. Fan Shu gritted her teeth and said, "You crazy woman, how dare you gamble with the Heaven's Cold Tears Crystal? Are you so sure that Chu Bingyin can win?" Xuanqin said coldly, "Of course, I'm not sure if Chu Bingyin can win. But if Su Feng says he can win, then he must win." Only Tao Emperor shook his head and smiled. He glanced at Su Feng with a meaningful look in his eyes. Su Feng had used the Heaven's Mystery Solution and the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique to spy on Chu Bingyin's strength and fate. He could fool others, but how could he fool a venerable emperor? Xuanqin said domineeringly, "If you agree to a bet, you must accept your loss. The three of you each owe me a creation spiritual item. I won't force you. When the time comes, the elders of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan will go to your clans to ask for the treasures." Fan Shu, Luoyang, and Luo Xingtian's faces turned even paler. It was as if they had fallen into an ice cave and their bodies were cold. "My cultivation partner is indeed very smart." Su Fong gave Su Fong a thumbs up. Fan Shu, Luoyang, and Luo Tianxing would definitely not be able to take out a creation spiritual item directly. Xuanqin asking the Divine Phoenix ancient clan to ask for the debt was equivalent to giving them 3 creation spiritual items at once. After receiving such a valuable gift, the Divine Phoenix ancient clan would definitely consider when deciding her fate. They would not make things difficult for Su Fong like before. Fan Shu shouted at Su Fong, "Take out the treasures, you bet. I don't believe you can take out a creation spiritual item too." "I don't have any creation spiritual items, but I do have some other spiritual items and divine artifacts." Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. He grabbed the storage ring and took out one spiritual item after another. Soon, a large number of them floated in front of him, emitting a dazzling xianguang. Amazing spiritual qi filled the air. These treasures were all borrowed from the Golden Rainbow King. There were spiritual items born in the primitive era, various divine stones, and origin stones. Although the value of all these treasures combined was not as high as Xuanqin's Heaven's Tear Cold Soul Crystal, it was not far behind. Swoosh! 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 Everyone's eyes fell on the treasures in front of Su Fong. Even only Dao Emperor looked at these treasures with a burning gaze. Big beads of sweat rolled down Fan Shu, Luoyang, and Luo Xingtian's foreheads. The legendary treasure of the Golden Rainbow King actually fell into Su Fong's hands. These 3 guys lost so badly this time. They can't afford to pay for it, even if they sell all their belongings. Fortunately, we didn't act rashly just now. Otherwise, we would be in trouble too. The others all gasped when they thought of the price these 3 people would have to pay. Some of them secretly rejoiced. Su Fong had clearly set a big trap for them this time, and was waiting for them to jump into it. It was ridiculous that the 3 of them were so eager to jump into the trap, one after another. They were so proud of themselves. QL11 who knew? Su Fong smiled domineeringly and said, "I also have a worthless divine artifact. I'll take it out too." Then, Su Fong took out a 3-foot-long flag from his storage ring. "That's the heaven-shrouding star flag?" Fan Shu's pupils shrank when she saw the divine artifact. Then, she roared, "How did my race's heaven-shrouding star flag appear in your hands?" Su Fong smiled coldly. "The heaven-shrouding star flag is in my hands right now, so it's naturally my treasure. It has nothing to do with Sanskrit anymore." The heaven-shrouding star flag was a half-creation divine artifact. It was the treasure of the Brahma heaven god realm's Sanskrit. Xinjia Tianjuan's avatar had tried to kill Su Fong with the heaven-shrouding star flag, but Su Fong killed him instead. Naturally, this half-creation divine artifact fell into Su Fong's hands. In the past, Su Fong didn't dare to take out the heaven-shrouding star flag because he was worried about Sanskrit's revenge. But now, he didn't have to worry about anything. The enmity between him and Sanskrit was irreconcilable, and Sanskrit was constantly trying to kill him. Why should he worry about anything? Il Woyang and Luo Xingtian felt their scalps go numb. They were almost completely hopeless. They couldn't afford to pay for so many treasures. Now that Su Fong had taken out a half-creation divine artifact, they couldn't afford it even if they sold everything they had. Fan Shu was furious. "Su Fong, you killed my clansmen and stole my race's supreme divine artifact. My race will not rest until you die." Su Fong couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her. He cupped his fists at Unidao Emperor and said, "Lord Emperor, please uphold justice for this humble one." Unidao Emperor thought for a moment and said majestically, "Since I promised you before, I naturally have to uphold justice for you. However, The three of them can't take out so many treasures. How about this? This emperor will convert these treasures into origin merit points. Once we enter the Yuan Tiangong, I'll deduct it from their names and give it to you. Su Fong asked in surprise, origin merit points? Primordius merit points are good things. They can be exchanged for cultivation methods, supernatural abilities, spiritual objects, divine tools, and even a spot to enter Primordius Heavenly Palace. You can also use these points to invite experts to guide you in cultivation. As long as you have enough points, you can even invite an emperor. These things can't be bought in the outside world. Origin merit points can't be exchanged with divine jades and treasures. They can only be earned by cultivating and completing tasks. Every point is very precious. Your treasures are worth about 3,000 merit points. Unidao Emperor explained. Many geniuses realized that after entering the Yuan Tiangong, they couldn't just sit back and relax. They needed to work hard to establish themselves in the Yuan Tiangong. So many treasures were only worth 3,000 merit points. From this, it could be seen how precious the merit points in the Yuan Tiangong were and how difficult it was to earn them. Unidao Emperor continued, every genius who enters the Yuan Tiangong will get 1 origin merit point. As a starting point, geniuses who cultivate in heavenly dojos will get 1,000 points. Fan Shu, Il Yang, and Luo Xingtian felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They all trembled and looked like they wanted to cry, but had no tears. This also meant that for a long time in the Yuan Tiangong, all the merit points they earned would be earned by Su Fong. They hadn't even entered the Yuan Tiangong, yet they already owed such a huge debt. How could they not despair? Su Fong was surprised and delighted. He didn't expect to get such a huge income. It could be said that it was an unexpected windfall. Su Fong, Unidao Emperor's voice suddenly sounded in Su Fong's mind. There are a few of your chaos spirit objects that are useful to this emperor. Can you give them to this emperor? Don't worry. This emperor won't take advantage of you. I'll exchange them with origin merit points. Su Fong wasn't surprised and hurriedly replied, if it weren't for your excellency, I wouldn't even get a single merit point. If your excellency needs anything, please feel free to take it. How could this disciple dare to take your excellency's points? Whether or not he could get the merit points, he won was all thanks to Unidao Emperor. How could Su Fong be stingy with a few chaos spirit objects? Besides, these chaos spirit objects all belong to the Golden Rainbow Monarch. Even if he gave them all to Unidao Emperor, Su Fong wouldn't get anything good. Su Fong, you're very good. Unidao Emperor nodded. The Golden Rainbow Monarch roared angrily in his inner world. Su Fong, you little bastard, how dare you use this emperor's treasures as a favor? Su Fong chuckled. Being chosen by Unidao Emperor only means that your treasures are valuable. You should be happy. The Golden Rainbow Monarch almost went crazy with anger. You've almost squeezed all of this father's treasures dry. Happy my ass. This father doesn't care. I'm only lending you these treasures. You can't give them away. Su Fong smiled and replied, Golden Rainbow Monarch, don't you want to be resurrected? Don't you want to live and transcend the shackles of heaven and earth? Wait until I enter the Yuan Tiangong and earn enough merit points. Maybe I can use them to ask an Emperor Master to help you resurrect. Are you really unwilling to part with a few Chaos Spirit objects? This Emperor also has a chance to be resurrected. How is that possible? The Golden Rainbow Monarch was stunned and found it hard to believe. The Golden Rainbow Monarch had fallen long ago, and only the world spirit that had fused with the Golden Rainbow Monarch world was left. It was equivalent to a divine artifact's origin spirit, so he had never thought that he would be able to be resurrected. Chapter 2180. Su Fong put all the treasures away in his storage ring under the envious and jealous gazes of the other geniuses. Su Fong had not even entered the Yuan Tiangong, but he already had 10,000 merit points. Other geniuses, even if they entered the top 10 of the Heavenly Realm Dojo, would only get 1,000 points at most. How could they not be jealous? Everyone looked at Fan Shu, Il Yang, and Luo Xingtian, especially Fan Shu. Their eyes were full of sympathy. Su Fong not only made her stink, but also made her lose 3,000 merit points. Fan Shu was really unlucky. Lord Dizun, do you want to continue the challenge? Di Yuan raised his eyebrows and looked a little impatient. He was obviously dissatisfied with only Dao Dizun's bias towards Su Fong. Because of his identity and aptitude, he was the only one among the geniuses present who dared to talk to a Dizun like this. Only Dao Dizun glanced at Di Yuan and said, "Continue the challenge." Fan Shu looked at a genius on the altar below and secretly sent a message with her primordial spirit. "Shun Xingyi, kill Su Fong, and I'll owe you a favor." This person was wearing a snow-white robe and was extraordinarily handsome. He exuded a sacred aura as if he did not belong to this world. Su Fong is not that easy to challenge. What is a favor from Lord Shu? I'll see if it's worth it, Shun Xingyi replied indifferently. QL11 Fan Shu gritted her teeth and said, 1,000 divine Emperor Realm goddesses, all of them beautiful and flawless. Will that do? Shun Xingyi's eyes lit up like the stars in the night sky. It's a deal. Fan Shu glanced sharply at Su Fong and snorted in her heart. Do you think my merit points are so easy to get? I have the power and influence to invite all the top 100 geniuses to challenge you one after another. I'll make it impossible for you to enter the top 10 and completely destroy your future. When you enter the Yuan Tiangong, I'll deal with you slowly. I challenge Su Fong. Shun Xingyi slowly flew out from the altar. His snow-white robe fluttered in the wind. His posture was elegant and graceful. Su Fong, be careful of this person. Xuanqin transmitted his voice to Su Fong. His name is Shun Xingyi, and he comes from a powerful force called the Eternal Heaven. He has mastered the great path of faith, and he has the terrifying power to seize one's mind and destroy one's will. This Shun Xingyi is the young master of the Eternal Heaven. He has received the Eternal Heaven's true impartation and is definitely a formidable opponent. Furthermore, this person is lustful, cruel, and likes to use virgin women as cultivation tools. Even men, this person is a monster that is even more disgusting than Yin Buji. You must be careful. Xuanqin was very worried about Su Fong and kept reminding Su Fong. Eternal Sky? His surname is Shun. Su Fong immediately recalled that in the ancient battlefield of immortals and devils in the macro world, he had once fought with a deity named Shun Shaoli and extorted 10 middle-grade divine essence pills from him. Shun Shaoli's combat art was called Eternal Divination. It was obviously related to Shun Xingyi. Su Fong, I have heard of your name a long time ago. You should still remember Shun Shaoli, right? Shun Xingyi flew to the platform and stared at Su Fong. Su Fong thought to himself, you are indeed related to Shun Shaoli. Shun Xingyi continued, Shun Shaoli is a genius that I have nurtured for many years. Even his training in the macro world was arranged by me. I didn't expect that he would be humiliated by you in the macro world. It's time to settle this score with you. Then his eyes flashed with a burning gaze, and he brazenly swept his gaze over Xuanqin and Goddess Luo. It's a pity that your two Dao companions are not virgin. Otherwise, I would have taken them both as slaves. It will be a pleasure indeed. Xuanqin and Goddess Luo's faces instantly turned frosty as they looked at Shun Xingyi with sharp eyes. Su Fong's eyes exuded coldness. You said so much just to disturb my Dao heart. Such a despicable trick will make you pay a heavy price. Is that so? Actually, I am far more interested in you than your two Dao companions. Shun Xingyi smiled, and the corners of his mouth curved into a devilish smile. Su Fong instantly had goosebumps all over his body. Shun Xingyi, who exuded a holy aura, was even more disgusting than that monster Yin Buji. The challenge begins. Only Dao Dizun activated the array on the platform, and Su Fong and Shun Xingyi appeared in the sky above a material continent. Su Fong, submit to me, and I will give you unimaginable benefits, such as immortality. Shun Xingyi's laughter rang out, and a faint fragrance, along with a solemn and holy aura, burst out silently, enveloping the world in an instant. Enveloped by Shun Xingyi's aura, Su Fong felt an indescribable sense of comfort. He felt like a fetus lying in his mother's womb. never wanting to leave. Su Fang's consciousness blurred for a moment, and he immediately realized that something was wrong. From the depths of his divine orifices in his yang spirit, mysterious Tao runes of destiny flashed out, burning away the power that confused his mind in an instant. You are worthy of being the genius that I, Shun Shengyi, have chosen. You are indeed extraordinary. I can't wait. Enter my eternal divine kingdom, and you will not suffer any pain, nor will you suffer from old age or sickness. You will be eternally immortal. Shun Shengyi struck out a seal, and a majestic yet peaceful aura enveloped all directions, turning the world into a divine kingdom in an instant. Within the divine kingdom, there were countless cities and countless well-dressed, handsome men and women. All of them had satisfied smiles on their faces and were carefree. Shun Shengyi's body exuded a holy halo, as if he was a supreme god. His entire body exuded a mystical power that made one want to worship him. Su Fang's mind went into a trance. Like everyone else in the divine kingdom, he smiled from the bottom of his heart. Shun Shengyi's lips curled into a smile, and a gentle voice sounded. Su Fang, why don't you offer your power of faith? I will grant you eternity, and you will be able to do whatever you want. Su Fang slowly flew to Shun Shengyi and was about to kneel before him. Suddenly, Su Fang asked aloud, If I join your divine kingdom, I can do whatever I want. In that case, I want you to submit to me and worship me. Is that okay? Shun Shengyi's divine light changed instantly. How can you not be affected by my divine ability? You can only fool those ignorant mortals with your tricks. How can you fool me? Su Fang let out a mocking laugh, and a divine aura of the world erupted, crushing Shun Shengyi into dust. I am immortal. Even if your divine ability is heaven-defying, you can't hurt a single hair on my head. Since you're not willing to submit, then this young lord can only suppress you. Shun Shengyi's voice echoed between heaven and earth, as if he had transformed into the supreme heavenly way, omnipresent. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 huge incense sticks fell from the sky and burned automatically. The aura in the world suddenly became solemn and solemn. A grand and majestic power of the will of the heavenly way shrouded Su Fang. Shun Shengyi's figure appeared behind the incense sticks. Although he was as tall as a normal person, he gave off the majesty of the heavenly way, and everything in the world had to bow down to him. Why aren't you kneeling? The gods in the cities roared at the same time, turning into a kind of power of faith that attacked Su Fang's will. They wanted to brand Shun Shengyi's shadow into Su Fang's primordial spirit consciousness, and from then on, he would be under his control. Outside the world created by the formation and divine ability, the scene inside could be clearly seen. Seeing how amazing and strange Shun Shengyi's divine ability was, many geniuses were scared witless. Fan Shu, Il Woyang, Assailant Feng, and the other top 10 geniuses were all speculating. If it were them, it would be difficult to resist Shun Shengyi's divine ability. Even if they were not shackled, their Tao heart would be affected after this battle. Humph, I only need to use a little trick, and you won't be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. Let's see how arrogant you can be after this. Fan Shu was very pleased. Il Woyang and Luo Xingtian were naturally gloating. Suddenly, Su Fang suddenly opened his eyes, and an illusory lightning flashed. Shun Shengyi felt an earth-shattering thunder rumble in the unseen world, and a fear that everything in his fate would be destroyed, as if it was the end of the world, enveloped his entire body and mind in an instant. However, the outside world was calm, and there was not a trace of lightning flashing. Puff, puff, puff. The 3 incense sticks that released the will of the heavenly way turned to ashes in an instant, and Shun Shengyi's figure also shattered layer by layer. The entire eternal divine nation was collapsing. Lord Overlord, save me. Shun Shengyi's figure fell out of the void, and his breath of life, primordial spirit, and divine body were all rapidly disappearing into nothingness. What a domineering divine ability! Only Dao, Overlord, directly grabbed Shun Xingyi out of the formation space and looked at Su Fong, his deep eyes full of shock. Even he, a supreme overlord, had never heard of such an amazing divine ability. Fortunately, Su Fong did not really want to kill Shun Xingyi and had only used 1/3 of the power of the Thunder of Destiny at most. It was not that Su Fong did not dare to kill Shun Xingyi, but that although Shun Xingyi was disgusting and detestable, he did not deserve to die. Moreover, the following battles would become more intense, and Su Fong had to conserve his strength. Even so, Shun Xingyi had almost lost half of his life, and the consumption of the Thunder of Destiny could not be recovered. It was impossible for him to have the strength to reach the top 10. The formation world on the platform disappeared, and Su Fong reappeared on the platform. White hair could be faintly seen on his temples, and his breath of life had become much weaker. However, the eyes of many geniuses looking at him were full of shock and incomparable fear. Su Fong ignored everyone's gazes and quickly sat cross-legged on the platform. After forming a seal, he shattered the insides of his physical body, turning it into a state of blood, and quickly merged with the blood crystal. At the same time, he activated his Yang force to quickly recover the consumed life force. Chapter 2181. The second round of challenges ended quickly. The cruelty of the Yuan Tiangong's seventh gate of heaven test was gradually revealed. In this round of challenges, although the 10 ringmasters who were ranked in the top 10 had all successfully survived the challenges, they had all received a strong impact. Luo Xingqian, Tian Bao, and Shifeng were all injured. Everyone else, except for Di Yuan and Fan Shu, was also greatly exhausted. Di Yuan was still not challenged by anyone. In the end, the genius that was named also gave up on his own accord, admitting defeat. It was the first time someone had challenged Fan Shu. However, because of the stench of the heaven-filthy thunder fruit, the challenger was greatly affected. In the end, he had to pinch his nose and admit defeat. Fan Shu laughed proudly. Su Fong, I should be the one thanking you. As long as I can enter the top 10 and enter the Yuan Tiangong Heavenly Realm Dojo, a little stench is nothing. Su Fong was also somewhat helpless. He didn't expect to really shoot himself in the foot this time. He had miscalculated. Xuanqin, are you okay? Seeing that Xuanqin's face was pale and his breathing was a little chaotic after the first challenge, Su Fong couldn't help but worry. Xuanqin had been injured by Di Yuan in the previous battle. He hadn't recovered to his normal state in a short time. After 2 fierce battles in a row, he was already a little exhausted. It's okay, Xuanqin replied. It doesn't matter even if I'm eliminated from the top 10. As long as you can enter the top 10, I'll be safe in the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. Su Fong nodded as a resolute expression flashed in his eyes. The rules of the competition for the top 10 were very favorable to Su Fong. At least he didn't have to fight with top experts like Di Yuan and Il Woyang. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for Su Fong to enter the top 10. Although the difficulty was lowered, it wasn't a sure thing. He had won 10 battles in a row, and all his opponents were peerless geniuses from all over the universe. If he was careless, all his previous efforts would be wasted. Since the opportunity to change my fate is right in front of me, I must fight for it until the end. Su Fong sealed the surface of his body. Nothing unusual could be seen from the outside, but a series of earth-shattering movements were erupting inside his body. The insides of his body had turned into blood water, and it was madly devouring the blood crystals and chaos essence beads. The vitality and blood energy in his body roared and surged. After fusing with the chaos chi, the energy in his body was rapidly recovering. The third round begins now. Following Unidao Emperor's announcement, the competition for the top 10 entered the third round. This time, the geniuses on the spell altars below were clearly more enthusiastic and eager to challenge. The reason couldn't be any simpler. At this moment, there were several geniuses on the platform above who were obviously pushovers. If he didn't make a move now, it would be too late. Fan Shu secretly sent a message to one of the geniuses. Di Yuan, if you don't make a move now, you won't have another chance. Mr. Fan Shu, don't forget the body-refining method of the ancient gods that you promised. The genius looked at Fan Shu. As long as you defeat Su Fong, the body-refining method of the ancient gods in my clan's scripture pavilion will definitely be yours. After receiving Fan Shu's affirmation, the genius named Di Yi Wang nodded and agreed. Just as he was about to challenge Su Fong, another genius flew out. I, Geng Zhao, challenge Luo Xingtian. A genius from the ancient god world landed directly on Luo Xingtian's platform. Luo Xingtian's strength was extraordinary, and he cultivated the Tao of the stars. He displayed a peerless theurgy called the stellar transformation, which released an astonishing amount of stellar energy. The genius who challenged him was named Geng Zhao. His cultivation was slightly inferior to Luo Xingtian's, but he obviously came prepared. He displayed the doppelganger great Tao theurgy, and in the end, forced Luo Xingtian to bow his head and admit defeat. Stimulated by Geng Zhao's success, the geniuses below became more enthusiastic. When Uni Dao Emperor announced the start of the challenge, Di Yi Wang shouted loudly, I, Di Yi Wang, challenge Su Fong. Then, Di Yi Wang took a step forward and went straight to Su Fong's platform. Su Fong scanned his body with the power of the Great Perfection Realm and immediately revealed a shocked expression. This youth named Di Yi Wang was actually a physique refinement cultivator. His blood qi was boundless, and his divine body was incomparably strong. Physique refinement cultivators were the ascetic cultivators of the human race. They did not focus on Tao arts, but instead, they pursued the pinnacle of their physical body, and finally, they cultivated a perfect physical body. This kind of physique refinement cultivator was almost extinct in the small and great worlds. Who would have thought that they still existed in the myriad worlds? Su Fong thought that even his great perfection realm physique was slightly inferior to this person. The myriad worlds were indeed filled with hidden dragons and crouching tigers, and geniuses were everywhere. When the array formation on the platform was activated, the two of them entered a different world. Di Yi Wang was like a ferocious beast, and he pounced directly at Su Fong. Although physique refinement cultivators did not focus on Tao arts, their physical bodies were actually a type of Tao, the Tao of the physical body. At this moment, Di Yi Wang unleashed the power of his physical body and executed his fist and leg techniques. Every move of his contained the laws of the heavenly Tao, and his power was incomparable. It caused waves of tsunami-like tremors. The further we go, the more difficult it will be. Hence, this battle cannot be dragged on for too long. We have to end it quickly. Xianhuang's Six Paths Pagoda, natal state. Su Fong did not hesitate to activate the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. The doors of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda were all opened, and the divine aura immediately entered Su Fong's body and divine essence. The experts and Big Goblin inside the natal magic treasure also entered battle mode, and they poured their magic power, divine essence, and demonic energy into the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. After the fusion of the natal magic treasure's divine aura, it burst out into Su Fong's body. Su Fong felt that the quality of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda was no longer on par with his strength. It was mainly because his cultivation had increased too quickly, and the 100,000 experts and Big Goblin under him had been cultivating in the 9 domains of the Green Dome sky. They had accumulated a lot, and their improvement was also very shocking. There were already more than 20 hierarch experts. It seemed like he had to quickly fuse the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda with his natal magic treasure. Otherwise, his natal magic treasure would lose its usefulness in the future. However, it was more than enough to deal with a physique refinement cultivator. No matter how strong Di Yi Wang was, he was only one person. How could he fight against 100,000 experts and the Big Goblin at the same time? Boom! Di Yi Wang, who charged menacingly at Su Fong, felt as if he had collided with a mountain, and he was directly blasted flying. Numerous cracks appeared on his body as blood spurted out, and the bones in his body were shattered. Even his internal organs and meridians were shattered and broken. A true god's divine body was very strong. A physique refinement cultivator's body was at least 10 times stronger than an ordinary true god. However, Di Yuang had completely lost the ability to fight after suffering such heavy injuries. Su Fong has won 3 rounds in a row. Only Dao Emperor glanced at Su Fong and didn't say anything. He immediately announced the result of the challenge. He could also see that Su Fong had borrowed the strength of the experts in his body. It was against the rules, but he didn't say anything about it. It was obvious that he was biased towards Su Fong. However, he looked at Su Fong with a warning look. Su Fong defeated Di Yuang in a domineering manner. The geniuses on the spell altars below were all shocked. Some of the geniuses who were instigated by Fan Su to challenge Su Fong in the next round started to hesitate. The challenges continued in an orderly manner. In the 3rd round, another champion was defeated, and it was the last ranked champion, Feng Shi. Even though his wind true body was formidable, he encountered a genius that cultivated in the spatial Grand Tao, and he was completely countered. In the end, he had no choice but to lose. The other champions also received strong challenges. Although Tian Bao and Xuanqin successfully withstood the challenges, they were all exhausted. The one who had the easiest time, other than Di Yuan, was Goddess Luo. This time, Di Yuan finally received a challenge. However, the challenger didn't even last for 20 breaths before he was defeated by Di Yuan. Goddess Luo had also easily defeated her challengers, making everyone feel that she was unfathomable. Fan Shu also received a challenge. A genius took the risk of fainting from the stench and engaged in a fierce battle with Fan Shu. Although he was defeated in the end, Fan Shu was greatly exhausted. The following challenges became even more intense. They could even be called cruel. Xuanqin was the first to receive a challenge. In the end, because he was exhausted, he had no choice but to admit defeat and give up his position as champion. Su Fong, it's all up to you. Xuanqin's expression was calm. One couldn't see any disappointment after losing. She was originally indifferent to fame and fortune. Her goal was different from the others. Her biggest goal was to always be able to keep up with Su Fong's footsteps and not be left too far behind by Su Fong. In the competition where the top geniuses from all over the universe gathered, she was able to make it into the top 100. This was enough to make her feel proud. When she was in the outside world, she never thought that she would have such a day. The only thing that made Xuanqin a little regretful was that Goddess Luo was still in the top 10. After experiencing so much in the Pan-Hung divine realm, although there was no barrier between them now, she was still a woman. Naturally, she didn't want to be outdone by other women. Take a rest. Watch how I fight for you. Su Fong sent a message to Xuanqin in a very domineering manner. Next was Tian Bao's challenge. In the end, he was injured by the challenger and withdrew from the top 10. Not even half of the 10 challenges were over. Out of the initial 10 champions, only Di Yuan, Su Fong, Goddess Luo, Il Woyang, and Fan Shu were left. The others were all eliminated. The cruelty of the competition was evident. Fan Su's round was not easy either. If it wasn't for the fact that his body stank and made it difficult for his opponents to use their full strength, he would have been eliminated from the top 10. As Su Fong defeated Di Yuang in a domineering manner in the previous round, it shocked many people. No one went up to challenge him. In the end, Su Fong randomly chose a genius whose cultivation level was only at the 4th heaven of Ultimate God. During the competition, Su Fong tried his best to conserve his energy. He used his divine weapon to deal with his opponent easily. After spending 3 days, his opponent was almost exhausted and had no choice but to admit defeat. When Il Woyang accepted the challenge, he actually took the initiative to give up and let someone else be the champion. This surprised everyone. Su Fong, I want to fight you. Unfortunately, I'm restricted by the rules and can't do as I wish. In the next round, this young master will challenge you as a challenger and reclaim your current position. QL 11. Chapter 2182. Il Woyang, you're really sinister. Su Fong immediately understood Il Woyang's sinister intentions. He looked at Il Woyang with a murderous look in his eyes. According to the rules, Su Fong could successfully stay in the top 10 as long as he won 10 matches in a row and entered the Yuan Tiangong Heavenly Realm Dojo to cultivate. In this way, it was equivalent to avoiding a battle with a top expert. Il Woyang had no chance to fight with him at all. At this time, Il Woyang deliberately admitted defeat. He changed from the champion to the challenger and had the qualifications to challenge Su Fong. He used this method to challenge Su Fong. It was obvious that he deliberately targeted Su Fong. As long as he defeated Su Fong, he would completely cut off Su Fong's future. In terms of cultivation, Il Woyang was at the peak of the 9th heaven of Ultimate God, 3 levels higher than Su Fong. Although Il Woyang, also Lian Zhan, won 4 matches like Su Fong, he did not encounter a strong opponent and did not consume too much of his cultivation. The result of the battle between the two was not difficult to guess. Even if Su Fong could win, it would not be that easy. He still had to face 5 more fierce battles, and it would be very difficult to reach the end. Strange, I have no grudges with Il Woyang before. Why does he keep targeting me? Su Fong was very surprised. Il Woyang came from the ancient god world and did not have any interaction with Su Fong before. Il Woyang targeted Su Fong the moment he came up. Even if he did not like Su Fong and let Su Fong win 3,000 merit points, it was only a dispute of personal feelings. No one would go against their own future. At the most critical moment of the palace entrance test, he gave up 4 victories to challenge Su Fong. If it was not for a deep hatred, he would definitely not do this. Not only Su Fong was puzzled, the other geniuses were also surprised and puzzled by Il Woyang's actions. However, only Dao Emperor seemed to have noticed something, and a thoughtful look appeared in his deep eyes. After Di Yuan easily defeated the designated challenger, the curtains of a new round of challenges were drawn once again. Swoosh! Swoosh! None of the geniuses issued a challenge. Instead, they looked at Il Woyang. Il Woyang revealed a domineering smile. His figure flashed, and in the next moment, he appeared on the platform where Su Fong was. Then he shouted to only Dao Emperor, Il Woyang challenges Su Fong. Only Dao Emperor said majestically, Ye's eyes, eyes, eyes is eyes is eyes, eyes is eyes, and he's eyes is eyes is eyes. Your disciple cultivates the Tao of archery. Once I make a move, it'll be very difficult for me to control it. I'm worried that I might accidentally kill Su Fong. Only Dao Emperor was startled for a moment before replying. As long as it's not intentional murder, it's all within the rules. Many thanks, Your Highness. Il Woyang cupped his fists and thanked Su Fong. After that, he sneered as he looked at Su Fong. Not only was his gaze sharp, it was also filled with a bone-chilling coldness. And activated. The two of them appeared in the world created by the supreme divine ability and formation. They were 1,000 miles apart and looked at each other from afar. Su Fong, do you know why I'm trying so hard to kill you? Il Woyang shouted coldly from afar. Su Fong chuckled. I'm a little confused. Please listen. I'm from the ancient Yi clan. I'm sure you know about my clan's ancestral god, the great Yi god. Legend. When life was born in the universe, there were 10 divine suns in the sky. They appeared in the rushing current valley and resided on the Fusang tree. Later, the great Yi god shot down 9 divine suns with his supreme archery skills, leaving only one hanging in the sky. The legendary great Yi was the ancestral god of the Yi clan. But what was the relationship between the great Yi god and Su Fong? Il Woyang said slowly, I can sense an extremely uncomfortable aura from you. This aura is related to the cultivation method you cultivate, and it urges me to kill you from the unseen world. So it's related to the 9 suns transformations I cultivate. Could it be that the 9 suns transformations has some enmity with the Yi clan? Su Fong faintly understood, but he was even more confused. Su Fong couldn't be bothered to figure all this out. He only needed to know that Il Woyang wanted to kill him. You want to kill me for some ethereal fate? Su Fong's gaze became piercingly cold and fierce. Il Woyang laughed coldly and embarrassedly. There are many benefits to killing you. For example, I can save at least 3,000 merit points and obtain countless benefit from the Sanskrit and Yin clan. Su Fong, give me your life. Il Woyang's expression instantly became icy cold, and his eyes shot out a sharp and fierce divine light that was like a sharp arrow. Heaven-burning eye. In an instant, Su Fong's eyes shot out a blazing aura that transformed into shocking flames that collided with Il Woyang's gaze. Hiss! Hiss! After a series of explosions, flames sprayed out, and shattered arrows shot out in all directions while emitting a sharp and ear-piercing howl. In the blink of an eye, Il Woyang's figure flew backwards, and he quickly pulled apart the distance between him and Su Fong. Swish! 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 Su Fong executed the flaming cloud wings to dodge the arrows. Unexpectedly, an arrow suddenly shot out from behind him, silently appeared, and fiercely struck Su Fong's back. Fortunately, the ancestral dragon armor released a powerful defense in time and blocked most of the arrow's power. However, a strand of peerlessly sharp power still penetrated the ancestral dragon armor's defense and drilled into Su Fong's body. The power of the arrow exploded in Su Fong's body and transformed into countless sharp strands of energy that wantonly destroyed Su Fong's flesh, blood, bones, and meridians. It even drilled into Su Fong's divine dwellings. Pooh! Su Fong spat out a mouthful of blood chi. The intense pain of his divine body being torn apart made Su Fong's entire body tremble. His face turned pale, and beads of sweat kept rolling down his face. He activated the life blood chi in his body, and it surged like a divine dragon in his body, rapidly recovering the life force that was consumed by the arrow's power. If it wasn't for his perfect body and astonishing recovery ability, this arrow would have been enough to destroy his body. What a terrifying archery technique. I have to close the distance with him. Otherwise, I can only passively take a beating without being able to fight back. Su Fong revealed a shocked expression. Flames burned all over his body, and he immediately turned into a flaming cloud that swept across the sky and swept towards Il Woyang. Fire divine powers are not bad, but even the divine sun can be shot down by my race's peerless archery technique, let alone a mere fire divine powers. Il Woyang sneered domineeringly. In the blink of an eye, he shot out another dozen arrows. The arrow exploded in the flames that Su Fong had turned into and was quickly incinerated by the blazing flames. However, the sharp and domineering power in the arrow dimmed the illusory fire cloud by a lot. The flaming cloud roiled and covered the sky as it covered Il Woyang. However, Il Woyang's body flickered, and his entire body moved like an arrow, instantly moving thousands of miles away. Chi! 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 Another rain of arrows tore through the flaming cloud and forced Su Fong to return to his physical state. After the continuous consumption, Su Fong's blood chi and energy were not light. Almost 1/5 of it was gone. The power of the Tao of archery was just so terrifying. Il Woyang's complacent voice sounded out from afar. Su Fong, you have two choices right now. You can either admit defeat obediently and preserve your life. You can keep your life, or you can be shot to death by me. The next moment, Wong, 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 the world suddenly darkened. Streaks of sharp and fierce power enveloped the world, forming a world of arrow intent. Then, numerous illusory arrows condensed and formed. It was as if tens of thousands of arrows had been shot at Su Fong at the same time. They were about to tear Su Fong into pieces in an instant. Divine might of samsara, great Tao of time, arrow of time. Su Fong first used the underworld samsara sword, erupting with the divine might of samsara and causing the arrows to circle around him. Afterwards, he used the great Tao of time. The arrow of time erupted with the terrifying power of space-time annihilation, shattering the arrows layer by layer. After dispersing this round of attacks, Su Fong's face became much paler. Using the arrow of time consumed a large amount of his life force, causing his life to reverse. He became a few years younger, and his life aura declined sharply as well. Il Woyang sneered. You have quite a few divine abilities, but unfortunately, you still can't escape the fate of being suppressed by me. Su Fong, didn't you create a formidable divine ability that caused the chaotic sea to resonate and raise enormous waves that were over 9,000 m tall? Why aren't you utilizing it now? Is there any need for me to utilize my trump card against you? Su Fong smiled domineeringly, and then his body suddenly flickered with golden electricity before he took a large stride forward. Waves of explosive sounds resounded from within his body, and every single step he took caused his body to expand explosively by a large amount. After taking over a dozen steps, he'd already transformed into a 300 tall giant. He wore a golden cloak, and his entire body was covered in mysterious golden heavenly marks. He emanated a ferocious and overbearing, imposing aura, causing him to seem like a majestic god of war. The golden giant strode through space and broke through the restraints of the world of arrow and tent, and it instantly arrived 3 kilometers away from Ilwoyang. So you were concealing such a formidable divine ability. Ilwoyang's eyes revealed a solemn expression. He flipped his hand and withdrew a dark black bow, and then he suddenly pulled the bowstring. A crescent-shaped, ghastly white Xianguang carried a terrifying, imposing aura that tore apart the heavens and the earth as it shot violently toward Su Fong. Pa! 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 The cloak on Su Fong's body suddenly flashed with mysterious golden electricity. Waves of golden patterns surged out from his skin, and they gradually interweaved into a golden pattern that swiftly covered his entire body. As soon as Ilwoyang's attack came into contact with the electric current and the golden pattern, it immediately shattered layer by layer and turned into nothingness. The luster of the indestructible golden body dimmed by more than half, but there was not a trace of injury. Such a powerful defense. Ilwoyang's divine light instantly changed, and he was shocked by the astonishing defense of the indestructible golden body. Looks like I have no choice but to use my strongest attack. Su Fong, to be able to make me use my trump card, you should die without regrets. Arrow of Annihilation, divine son of death. Ilwoyang suddenly stretched out his palm and suddenly slapped the space between his eyebrows. The tightly shut eye between his eyebrows suddenly opened, and a gray Xianguang shot out from between his eyebrows and transformed into an arrow. This arrow had just condensed when a terrifying aura that could annihilate all life spread out and swept out in all directions. Chapter 2183. Sensing the destructive power contained in Ilwoyang's arrow, Su Fong finally realized why he could shoot down the divine sun, and why Ilwoyang regarded him as his mortal enemy. Su Fong's yang qi was a necessary energy for all life forms in the world, while the power contained in Ilwoyang's arrow could destroy all life forms. The two were opposed to each other like fire and water. This was a natural law of the world, and no one could change it. It felt like the difference between the righteous path, the demonic path, and the evil path. The cultivation methods of both sides and the way they communicated with the universe determined that they would never get along and would be enemies for generations. The moment Ilwoyang's arrow of extinction was unleashed, the geniuses outside the array world were stunned. The genius who had successfully challenged Ilwoyang in the previous round suddenly cried out in alarm. If Ilwoyang had used the arrow of extinction in the previous round, he would not have been able to resist at all and could only wait for his death. Di Yuan raised his eyebrows, and his eyes flashed with a fearful light. He was confident that with his strength, he would be able to neutralize this arrow, but he would still have to pay a heavy price. Fan Shu was overjoyed and in high spirits. Goddess Luo's deep eyes were also filled with worry, and she immediately sent a voice transmission to only Dao Dizun. Dizun, hurry up and save him. You little girl, if it weren't for the person behind you, I wouldn't have allowed you to be so presumptuous. I value Su Fong very much, and even if he didn't say anything, I would have saved him. Only Dao Dizun snorted unhappily and prepared to end the confrontation in the array world. Suddenly, Ilwoyang, you have already used your strongest technique, but you are not qualified for me to use my final trump card." Su Fang's domineering voice reverberated in the array world in his gigantified state. His eyes flashed with an ethereal and mysterious light, revealing a kind of mystery that could deduce the mysteries of heaven and earth. It seemed that no secret in heaven and earth could escape his eyes. At the same time, a purple chi erupted from Su Fang's body and swept out in all directions. It was a kind of supreme divine power that used heaven and earth as a dharma treasure and controlled the universe, controlling the world in an extremely domineering manner. The arrow of extermination's divine might was suddenly suppressed, and its speed suddenly slowed down. In the blink of an eye, Su Fang took a step toward the arrow of annihilation and reached out his hand. Suddenly, a golden light flashed, and an abnormally huge palm print grabbed at the arrow of annihilation. This palm print was filled with astonishing yang qi, as if it was a real palm. It did not explode with any aura and caught the arrow of extinction by surprise. Titan palm. Qi. Qi. The giant palm print shattered layer by layer, and the arrow of extinction was also quickly worn down by the Herculean divine palm's astonishing power. Poof! The palm print shattered. However, the arrow of extinction did not lose its momentum and hit Su Fang's right shoulder in his gigantified form. Su Fang's huge body staggered. The cloak on his body was torn apart by the terrifying power of extermination. The golden patterns on his skin also began to crack and collapse. Il Woyang was instantly pleasantly surprised. However, in the next second, Su Fang's right arm suddenly expanded, like a huge monster that could extend at will. Meanwhile, Il Woyang was like a tiny ant that was caught by the giant palm. No matter how he struggled, he could not escape the shackles of the giant palm. "If you want to suppress my Su Fang, then I'll let you have a taste of being suppressed." Then, Su Fang shouted domineeringly and squeezed hard. Il Woyang's defense shattered layer by layer like paper. A huge force surged from all directions. Il Woyang felt like his bones and organs were being crushed. Il Woyang spat out blood with pieces of his organs. He did not know how many bones in his body were broken. His lower body was covered in feces and urine, and the stench was unbearable. This scene was like a chicken falling into the hands of a giant. It could only be crushed, and any resistance would be futile. This unexpected result caused the surrounding platforms and the spell altars below to collectively fall silent. Su Fang stopped. Only Dao Di was the first to react. He moved his spell at will, and a divine aura forcibly swept Il Woyang away from Su Fang's palm. Su Fang quickly returned to his normal state from his gigantified state. His body swayed, and he fell towards the material continent. His life force was weak, and only a third of his peak state was left. The power of the arrow of extinction was still wreaking havoc on his body, consuming his life force. At this moment, only Dao Di released a divine aura that seeped into Su Fang's body and eliminated Il Woyang's power of extinction. However, after retracting the formation world, Su Fang reappeared on the platform. Although he had won this battle, it could only be considered a Pyrrhic victory. The external injuries on his divine body were nothing. This time, he had consumed almost 2/3 of his life force. If it was an ordinary god, they would have died long ago, not to mention remaining conscious. Most of the yang energy in his body had also been consumed by the gigantified diamond body. Only Dao Di's divine aura swept Su Fang's body, and he secretly transmitted his voice. "Su Fang, can you hold on? If you really can't, you can give up on the top 10. At the very least, you can enter the Yuan Tiangong to cultivate. It's not impossible for you to enter the heavenly realm in the future." Although he valued Su Fang very much, he was currently in charge of the palace entrance examination. All the venerable emperors were looking at him, so he couldn't really help Su Fang. "Thank you for your concern, venerable emperor. I can still hold on for the time being." This was related to his future, Xuanxin's fate, and also related to his quota to enter the Yuan Tiangong. The life and death of his family, friends, and subordinates were also involved. This was a rare opportunity, so how could he give it up so easily? Only Dao Di saw the persistence and tenacity in Su Fong that young cultivators didn't have. He couldn't help but feel shocked. Then, only Dao Di continued. The consequences of killing Il Woyang are very serious. That's why I stopped you just now. Please don't blame me. Su Fong hurriedly replied, Venerable Emperor, you're doing this for my own good. How could I blame you? Only Dao Di nodded in satisfaction. Goddess Luo was also communicating with Su Fong. Su Fong, why didn't you use your most powerful divine ability? Goddess Luo knew that other than the mysterious and incomparably powerful ancient mirror, Su Fong had other means that were even more powerful than the gigantified Vajrabody. However, he didn't use them in his battle with Il Woyang. She couldn't help but be surprised. The following test will be even crueler. It's not time for me to use my most powerful techniques yet, Su Fong replied. You don't have to work so hard. I can help you get what you want. Isn't this an excellent opportunity to train me? I, Su Fong, will use my own hands to change my own fate. Il Woyang can't stop me, and Fan Shu can't stop me either. Goddess Luo didn't say anything else. She looked at Su Fong with concern and love in her eyes. There was also respect from the bottom of her heart. Compared to Su Fong, Il Woyang was even more miserable. He used the arrow of extinction, but because he wasn't strong enough, the energy in his body had almost dried up. He was needed by Su Fong like a chicken, and his divine body was severely injured. Although the archery divine ability was powerful, his divine body was weak. In such a heavily injured state, Il Woyang wouldn't be able to recover to his previous peak state without 100,000 years of careful recuperation and all kinds of recovery pills and spiritual items. Il Woyang originally planned to defeat Su Fong and become the arena lord again. Then, he would win 10 consecutive battles and stay in the top 10. It wouldn't be too difficult for him to enter the Yuan Tiangong Heavenly Realm Dojo. However, the result was clearly very different from his plan. Now that he was heavily injured, it was impossible for him to reach the top 10. This time, he went for wool, but came home shorn. No, not only did he lose a handful of rice, but he also lost the hand that grabbed the rice. Il Woyang looked at Su Fong with lingering fear in his eyes, as well as strong resentment and hatred. Then he said to Fan Shu, Su Fong only needs a straw to crush him. I'll leave him to you. I want him dead. Fan Shu said with a murderous look, If I can't even kill Su Fong in a half-dead state, I'll have lived in vain. The challenge continued. QL11, everyone's attention shifted elsewhere. Su Fong sat cross-legged on the platform. Because he had used up a lot of energy and was heavily injured, he couldn't use the underworld blood sea to devour pills, spiritual items, and blood crystals. He cut open his chest, took out a blood crystal, and pressed it into his heart. The blood crystal quickly melted and turned into pure life blood chi, which was quickly sent to every part of his body by his beating heart. Seeing this, Fan Shu sneered disdainfully. You only have half a day to recover. Let's see how much you can recover in half a day. The blood crystal that Su Fong used to recover his blood chi was condensed from the power of Yin and Yang when he killed the big goblin. It contained pure and abundant blood chi, which could be easily absorbed by his body. About an hour later, Su Fong's face had recovered some color, and his aura had also recovered slightly. Then, Su Fong didn't care about anything. He took out the time cave and entered it directly. In the room of the time cave, after forming a seal, he barely collapsed his body and turned it into a pool of blood. There was barely any flame of life, which showed that he had used up a lot of blood chi this time. Su Fong moved his mind, and pieces of blood crystals appeared out of thin air and fell into the pool of blood and quickly melted. Then there was a chaos essence bead the size of an ordinary pill. It was the chaos essence bead that Ji Feng had refined when he killed the Ji people's expert. Prehistoric inflammation, draconic bird, help me. Su Fong condensed a body from the pool of blood and transmitted his mind to the prehistoric inflammation and draconic bird. Prehistoric inflammation stripped the fire essence, and draconic bird also fed the pure yang essence to help Su Fong recover. At the same time, It refined all kinds of pills and spiritual items to quickly recover the consumed energy, especially the yang qi. Gradually, the flame of life ignited in the pool of blood, and the area of the pool of blood expanded little by little. When it filled the room, it turned into the azure blood dome state. The dragon-subduing true body and the black lotus true body were activated at the same time. It had been a long time since he used the recovery ability of these two true bodies. The other was the blood transformation true body. After ascending to the myriad worlds, Su Fong had given up the cultivation of the blood transformation true body, so it was useless now. However, the recovery ability of the dragon-subduing true body and the black lotus true body was extremely amazing, especially the dragon-subduing true body. After obtaining the ancestral dragon protector, the dragon-subduing true body and the ancestral dragon protector merged. Not only did the dragon-subduing true body have amazing defense, but the recovery ability was also quite amazing. Chapter 2184. Golden Rainbow King, you are experienced and knowledgeable. Do you know anything about the E-Clan? Su Fong transmitted his thoughts to the Golden Rainbow King while recovering. The Golden Rainbow King spoke from the depths of his body. I know a little, but it's not very comprehensive. I saw it in some ancient books of the ancient God clan. Some of them are ancient legends and may not be true. Su Fong said, there's no wind in an empty cave. Even if it's an absurd legend, you can still find some clues from it. Legend has it that in ancient times, before the God realm was established, the human clan lived on the ancient continent. There was an incomparably powerful god clan among the human clan called the Sun God Clan. It was said that they were the supreme god clan that controlled the god Sun. The Sun God Clan lived on the Sun God Mountain. Legend has it that the Tang Valley and the Fusong Tree were both located on the Sun God Mountain. The moment the Golden Rainbow King spoke, Su Fong fell into an intense shock. The God Sun was the foundation of all living things in the world. Controlling the God Sun, how terrifying was this God clan? Then Su Fong asked in astonishment, how could such a powerful God clan disappear in the long river of history? The Golden Rainbow King said, regarding the destruction of the Sun God clan, there are many different theories. There are two most credible ones. One theory is that because the Sun God clan was too powerful, in the end, they inevitably became arrogant and domineering. They were ambitious and wanted to dominate the human clan. They were met with the resistance of the various god clans. The Sun God clan controlled the God Sun to rise together and used it to threaten the other god clans, forcing them to submit to the Sun God clan. 10 suns appeared at the same time. Countless creatures were wiped out. In order to save the world, the archer god, he stepped forward and shot down 9 suns, leaving only 1 sun hanging high in the sky. Because the Sun God clan went against the tide, they were annihilated by the other god clans. Winners are kings and losers are bandits. Many of these stories are deliberately exaggerated by the later generations. Su Fong had heard of this before and scoffed at it. The Golden Rainbow King seemed to have found a bosom friend. That's right. The winners have power in their hands. No one dares to blame them, but the losers have no way to defend themselves. Back then, I roamed the heavens and 10,000 worlds. If I could finally establish a hegemony, who would dare to call me a bandit? Su Fong then asked, what's the second theory? The second theory is rather bizarre. It's related to the war between the human race and the demon race. It is said that in ancient times, in order to seize control of the world, the human race and the demon race waged earth-shattering battles time and time again. The earth shattered and the sky collapsed. The Sun God race controls the divine sun and is the natural enemy of the devil race. At the most intense moment of the battle, the Sun God race did not hesitate to go against the heavens. 10 suns appeared together and burned countless demon experts to death. Who would have thought that, just as the demon race was about to be completely wiped out due to the Sun God race going against the heavenly Tao, they were punished by the heavenly Tao. Not only were they stripped of their right to control the divine sun, their entire race was annihilated by the heavenly Tao, and 9 out of the 10 divine sons were shot down. Because of this, the demon race was lucky enough to escape and retreat to the dark world. The one who shot down the 9 divine sons was the E. It was said that he was ordered by the heavenly Tao to carry out the punishment of the heavenly Tao and shoot down the divine son. There are also people who speculate that the E was bribed by the devil race to help them resolve their crisis. The Golden Rainbow King spoke tirelessly. Just as Su Fong was about to end his conversation with the Golden Rainbow King, the Golden Rainbow King suddenly continued, "I also saw some scraps of text in an ancient god race's secret book. It is said that the 9 divine sons shot down by the E were taken back by the heavenly venerate of creation. With his supreme divine ability, he refined it into a peerless divine artifact and placed it in the celestial venerate mountain." Hearing this, Su Fong's heart was set off by stormy waves. 9 divine sons, 9 sons, 9 transformations. Could it be that the 9 sons, 9 transformations that I cultivate is related to the 9 divine sons? And the primordial chaos sacred mirror, could it be that it is a supreme divine artifact refined from the 9 divine sons? It seems to be somewhat wrong. The primordial chaos sacred mirror is divided into 2 sides. One side is extreme yang, and the other side is extreme yin. What is the extreme yin side made of? Su Fong was extremely shocked in his heart, and cold sweat seeped out of his back. He felt more and more that the primordial chaos sacred mirror was mysterious, as well as the origin of the 9 sons, 9 transformations. The next time he interacted with Xu Wanjin, he had to ask her clearly. As for the primordial chaos sacred mirror, he had to be even more careful to keep it a secret. Once it was exposed, he did not know how much trouble it would bring, or even a fatal disaster. He spent 5 days in the Cavern of Time. Su Fong used all kinds of methods and consumed a large amount of blood crystals, pills, and spiritual items. The primordial chaos pearl was also completely used up. Finally, he recovered about 60 to 70% of his strength. The main thing was that the time was too short, and Su Fong did not have enough time to recover leisurely. Although I have not completely recovered, 60 to 70% is enough. At least, I will not become a weakling that can be slaughtered by others. Su Fong thought for a while and sealed a portion of his blood qi and energy. His aura seemed very weak, as if he had not recovered much. However, Su Fong came out of the Cavern of Time and came to the platform. There were many people who were paying attention to Su Fong, including Unidao Emperor, Goddess Luo, and Xuanxin. Seeing Su Fong's current state, some people were disappointed, some were worried for him, some sneered with disdain and took pleasure in his misfortune, and some were eager to give it a try and completely took Su Fong as a soft persimmon. Even Celestial Treasure looked at Su Fong with eyes full of ambition and strong fighting spirit. Unidao Emperor's gaze swept over Su Fong, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Then he smiled and said, "This kid is going to trick people again." Xuanxin was worried for Su Fong. Just as he was about to persuade Su Fong to give up, Goddess Luo sent a message with her primordial spirit. "Xuanxin, don't worry about Su Fong. Our man is not an ordinary person. If someone treats him as a weakling and takes advantage of him, they will definitely pay a heavy price." Xuanxin thought of the various miracles Su Fong had done in the past and immediately relaxed. However, Goddess Luo's words of "our man" made Xuanxin think of Su Fong's great ambition, and his face immediately flushed red. The top 10 challenges had gone through 5 rounds, and only Di Yuan, Goddess Luo, Su Fong, and Fan Shu had won all 5 rounds. It was clear that it was not so easy to make it into the top 10. Di Yuan and Goddess Luo's strength was still unshakable. Su Fong was heavily injured from his fierce battle with Il Luoyang, and no one thought that he could win the next round. As for Fan Shu, if it were not for the disgusting stench all over her body, she would have been kicked off the platform long ago. It was clearly not very possible for her to win 10 rounds in a row. The next challenge begins. Only Dao Emperor's majestic voice had just left his mouth when a dozen or so figures flew out from the altar before he could finish his sentence. I, Gu Li, challenge Su Fong. I, Shui Wuhan, challenge Su Fong. Su Fong is mine. Whoever dares to fight with me will be my mortal enemy. More than a dozen geniuses scrambled to be the first. None of them wanted to miss the opportunity to defeat Su Fong. Some of these geniuses were secretly instigated by Fan Shu, Il Luoyang, and Luo Xingtian, and were aiming for the benefits that the three had promised. Some wanted to defeat Su Fong and become famous in one battle. They wanted to trample on Su Fong to fulfill their own goals. Su Fong was ranked second after the previous 6 gates of heaven tests. As long as they defeated him, even if they could not make it into the top 10, they would still receive attention from everywhere. They would even attract the attention of the Yuan Tiangong elites. A middle-aged Yuan Tiangong heaven punisher behind Unidao Emperor snorted coldly. A surge of aura surged like a mountain flood, and it forced the geniuses to retreat until they were back on the altar. Anyone who doesn't abide by the rules will be disqualified from entering the palace. The middle-aged heaven punisher's words made the geniuses tremble. However, when they looked at Su Fong on the platform, the burning desire in their eyes did not diminish at all. Gu Li, you're here. The middle-aged heaven punisher received Unidao Emperor's instructions and directly pointed at a genius whose cultivation level was only at the 4th heaven of the supreme god realm. Thank you, my lord. Gu Li was pleasantly surprised and went straight to Su Fong's altar. Brother Su, do you still remember me? Gu Li cupped his fists towards Su Fong and spoke in a very polite tone. Su Fong nodded and said, "In the Pang Hong divine realm, you, Sun Qi, and the others fought side by side with me against the resurrected elites. In the end, all of us died. How can I not remember you after experiencing life and death?" Gu Li's eyes were filled with gratitude. In the Pang Hong divine realm, you were the one who showed me that death is not scary. Instead, it is very satisfying. Because of this experience, I recently broke through the shackles of cultivation and advanced to the middle-level supreme god realm. Su Fong said, "Congratulations. The entrance test is related to your future prospects. You must do your best." Gu Li shook his head and said, "I still know my own limits. How can I be your opponent? I only went up this time to admit defeat." Gu Li went up to the altar just to admit defeat. Su Fong was shocked and stunned. Soon after, he felt a surge of emotion in his heart. Gu Li then shouted toward Unidao Emperor, "Lord Emperor, Gu Li knows that he is no match for Su Fong, so he admitted defeat." Hua QL 11 The geniuses on the surrounding platforms and altars were not surprised at all. What followed was an uproar. Is Gu Li sick in the head? He took the initiative to challenge, but admitted defeat? Cheating. Gu Li is cheating. He's looking down on the Yuan Tiangong and Unidao Emperor. He should be suppressed. Gu Li deserves to die. He actually let Su Fong win for nothing and one time for him to recover. While the crowd was discussing, Unidao Emperor shouted, "Su Fong wins." The crowd was silent. No one dared to talk anymore. However, they all thought that Su Fong was lucky enough to get through this round. They did not know that Su Fong was feeling very regretful. He originally planned to use Blue Sky Underworld in the next round to devour his opponent's vitality and recover a bit. Who knew that Gu Li would ruin it? However, this was also good. He could use the rest time to recover quickly. As a result, Su Fong won 6 rounds in a row. He was one step closer to winning 10 rounds. The next round of challenges became even more cruel. First of all, the geniuses who had just become arena lords were challenged by powerful opponents and fell one after another. Chapter 2185. Goddess Luo's opponent for this round was an 8th heaven god Venerable. He used a metal elemental divine ability, which created a metal elemental storm. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! Goddess Luo waved her right arm casually. Her soft and boneless hand released a natural and astonishing might. It disintegrated all the laws of the Great Path into nothingness. The storm formed by the metal elemental natural power was instantly shattered layer by layer and finally collapsed. I admit defeat. The challenger had no choice but to admit defeat. Immediately after, he cupped his fists and said, with Mrs. Peerless appearance and unparalleled strength, only Di Yuan is worthy of Miss in all the worlds. However, Miss is with Su Fong. It's like a pearl covered in dust. It's really puzzling. Goddess Luo smiled faintly. It's none of your business who I'm with. Since you admire Di Yuan so much, why don't you throw yourself into his arms? That person snorted coldly, his face becoming incomparably ugly. Di Yuan glanced at Goddess Luo and smiled faintly. His deep eyes flashed with a hint of conquering desire. This round, Di Yuan was the only one left who didn't accept the challenge. It's also a great honor to be able to fight with the Supreme Imperial Peoples, Shao Zun. I, Qian Gang, challenged Di Yuan. A burly, bald youth stepped out from the spell altar. A Buddhist cultivator? Di Yuan glanced at the bald youth in surprise. Then, he nodded and said, "You should be from the Pure Land in the far west of the Divine World. Only there are Buddhist cultivators. Buddhism has already declined. You can become a Yuan Tiangong genius and enter the top 100 in the palace entrance test. It's enough to show that your strength is extraordinary." The bald youth, Qian Gang, put his palms together. "It's my great merit to be able to win a chance of survival for the Pure Land in the far west and leave my inheritance in the Yuan Tiangong. If I can obtain the Buddhist inheritance in the Yuan Tiangong, it will be my great fortune. Your spirit is praiseworthy. However, it's still far from enough to challenge me." Di Yuan smiled faintly. His light and indifferent voice carried a supreme, domineering aura that seemed to look down upon the world. "I only want to fight with Shao Zun Di Yuan to show the might of Buddhism. I don't want to defeat Shao Zun. Please enlighten me, Shao Zun." Qian Gang nodded and separated his palms. A ferocious, divine, and dignified sound of thunder rumbled as a palm condensed from golden lightning swiftly slapped towards Di Yuan with a shocking aura that could sweep away all evil in the world. This should be the supreme divine ability of the Western Pure Lands Buddhist sect to suppress the devil race, the Thunderclap Devil Suppressing Seal. Its power is indeed extraordinary. Di Yuan praised and also struck out a palm print. Different from Qian Gang's Thunderclap Devil Suppressing Seal, Di Yuan's palm print carried a vast heavenly Tao divine might. The moment it appeared, the formation world seemed to be shackled, completely under his control. At this moment, Qian Gang felt as if he was fighting against the entire world, and he couldn't help but feel small and powerless. Boom! The two palms collided, and the Thunderclap Devil Suppressing Seal was forcefully scattered. The remaining power of Di Yuan's palm print had yet to dissipate, and the irresistible heavenly Tao's divine might crashed onto Qian Gang's body. Qian Gang's divine body suddenly released a golden Xinguang, which turned into a golden lotus platform, forming a powerful defense. The golden lotus platform shattered with a loud bang, finally dispersing Di Yuan's attack. However, Qian Gang was still sent flying thousands of miles, bleeding from his 7 orifices. "Shao Zun Di Yuan, you're indeed invincible. Qian Gang has learned a lot." Qian Gang put his palms together and admitted defeat very happily. In this way, after 6 rounds of challenges, only Su Fong, Goddess Luo, and Di Yuan were left with a perfect record. QL11, after this period of rest, Su Fong seemed to have recovered a little. However, her aura was still weak, and she looked like she couldn't fight anymore. Only Dao Di Sun glanced at Su Fong, and a hint of a smile appeared in his deep eyes. However, he didn't expose her and said imposingly, "The challenges continue." As soon as he finished speaking, the prodigies on the spell altar were eager to give it a try. At this moment, a handsome young man in a starry robe shouted domineeringly, "Su Fong is mine. Whoever dares to compete with me, I'll specifically challenge them in the next round and beat them until they kneel and lick my feet." It turned out that Luo Xingtian, who had been kicked out of the arena by his challengers, was now brazenly challenging Su Fong. The prodigies immediately fell silent. In their opinion, defeating Su Fong wasn't difficult. However, they would have to accept the challenges of other prodigies next. If they really angered Luo Xingtian and were challenged by him, then the losses would outweigh the gains. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to suppress Su Fong. I'll remember this favor. Luo Xingtian revealed a domineering smile and slowly flew to Su Fong's spell altar. Su Fong touched the tip of her nose and sneered in her heart. If you think I, Su Fong, am a pushover, then you'll have to be prepared to pay a heavy price. The spell altar on the spell altar was activated. The space extended and changed, and the two appeared in the world of the spell altar. Luo Xingtian laughed proudly. Su Fong, you're now an arrow at the end of its flight. Even a straw can crush you. Don't force yourself. I'll give you a chance. As long as you give up the 3,000 merit points you won from me and give me 5,000 points, I'll allow you to admit defeat. If you admit defeat now and give me 5,000 points, I'll leave you some face. Su Fong revealed a mocking expression. In that case, I won't show any mercy. Su Fong, I have to admit that you're indeed a peerless prodigy. Even I'm ashamed of my inferiority. However, you still can't escape the fate of being defeated by me this time. Hee, to trample a peerless prodigy under my feet must be a very successful thing. Luo Xingtian shouted arrogantly with his head held high. However, he didn't slow down. He performed a Dharma seal, and a vast nebula suddenly appeared in the sky. The nebula rolled rapidly, condensing into bright stars. The sky of the spell altar turned into a starry sky in an instant. The power of the stars shrouded the whole world. Star transformation, sky wolf kill. None of the prodigies who could enter the Yuan Tiangong were stupid. Luo Xingtian looked arrogant, but in fact, he didn't underestimate Su Fong at all. His attack was the fiercest. In an instant, a star in the starry sky suddenly released a dazzling brilliance. Dozens of stars around it also lit up, outlining a huge pattern of sky wolf. Howl a wolf howl shook the sky. A ferocious and violent, murderous aura rolled in from all directions. The pattern of the sky wolf star seemed to be alive. It turned into a lifelike sky wolf, like a peerless overlord howling in the starry sky. Immediately, the sky wolf pounced on Su Fong. As it ran and roared, the huge body of the sky wolf shrank rapidly. However, its murderous aura became more and more terrifying, as if the power of the stars in the starry sky had gathered in its body. Compared to the terrifying sky wolf, Su Fong was like a trembling chicken that would be torn to shreds by the sky wolf in an instant. Luo Xingtian laughed wildly with pride. Su Fong, why don't you admit defeat? Su Fong suddenly looked up to the sky and let out a dragon's roar. Majestic dragon aura surged, and his body underwent an amazing change. Scales covered with mysterious heavenly marks condensed on his skin. His body grew crazily and turned into a dragon. In the blink of an eye, a huge green dragon appeared in the spell altar. The terrifying dragon power that could frighten all beasts rose to the sky. After ascending to the myriad heavens, Su Fong rarely used the dragon-subduing real body. As his cultivation increased, his perfect physical body also transformed. The dragon-subduing real body also rose in strength. In addition to devouring countless spiritual objects of the wood element and chaotic aura, the dragon-subduing real body had reached an amazing height. At this time, the dragon-subduing real body had merged with the ancestral dragon armor, making the power of the dragon-subduing real body even more terrifying. The sky wolf, transformed from the power of the stars, suddenly stopped. Its eyes revealed a look of dread and fear. You've cultivated the art of dragon transformation. But so what? Even if you transform into a divine dragon, how can you be compared with my supreme star Great Tao? Kill! Luo Xingtian shouted angrily and pointed at the sky wolf. The sky wolf let out an earth-shattering roar. The fear in its eyes disappeared. A violent, murderous aura surged out and fiercely pounced on the divine dragon transformed by Su Fong. Boom! 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 The eyes of the divine dragon transformed by Su Fong flashed with an illusory light that could see through heaven's secrets. Its tail swayed with a terrifying aura. Its huge body wriggled out and engaged in a crazy battle with the sky wolf. The mountains on the ground collapsed, the earth cracked, and the space collapsed. The entire spell altar fell into a violent tremor. In the previous battle between Luo Xingtian and the other geniuses, Su Fong used the Divine Sky Acting Wall to record the entire process. With the help of the Divine Sky Acting Wall and the mysterious solution of Heaven's evolution, Su Fong had almost figured out Luo Xingtian's Great Dao Star transformation. This battle with the Sky Wolf came in handy. His attacks were aimed at the Sky Wolf's flaws and weaknesses. In addition, the Divine Dragon's aura had a certain suppressive and deterrent effect on the Sky Wolf. Su Fong had the powerful defensive ability of the Ancestral Dragon Armor. He could engage in close combat with the Sky Wolf without any scruples. The Sky Wolf was restrained in every way and was soon at a disadvantage. The battle lasted for an hour. The Sky Wolf's body suddenly shattered and turned into starlight. Puff! Luo Xingtian's Great Dao Star transformation was broken. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and staggered a few steps back before he could stand firm. Su Fong's body also quickly shrank and returned to its normal state. After this battle, although he did not seem to have any external injuries, he became even weaker. His body trembled as if a straw could crush him. Luo Xingtian, you must be very disappointed with this result, right? Su Fong displayed the aura of a peerless overlord of the macro world and charged toward Luo Xingtian. Luo Xingtian panicked. After forming a seal, dazzling starlight burst out from the star robe on his body. Stars quickly condensed around him and formed a powerful defense with the Great Dao Principle. Blood Shadow Doppelganger, devour blood. A faint blood-red shadow peeled off from Su Fong's body and disappeared into nothingness without a trace. A moment later, the blood shadow appeared behind Luo Xingtian. The defense released by his star robe could not stop the blood shadow at all. Whoosh! Chapter 2186. Luo Xingtian felt that a layer of blood and qi in his body was unknowingly devoured. He was shocked and incomparably horrified. He was scared out of his wits by the strange blood shadow doppelganger. He shouted angrily, "Su Fong, you actually used an evil divine ability to deal with me." Su Fong said coldly, "The rules of the seventh gate of heaven are that any method can be used, no matter if it's evil or demonic. I didn't break the rules. What's more, there's no good or evil in divine arts. It depends on a person who uses it. I can only use evil methods to deal with a shameless person like you." While they were talking, the blood shadow doppelganger went back into Luo Xingtian's body with a whoosh. "Su Fong, don't go too far. I'm not a weakling that you can kill," Luo Xingtian shouted. A flow of scorching star aura gushed out of his body, quickly condensing into a phantom of a star that emitted a terrifying flame on the surface of his body. Sizzle, sizzle. The blood shadow doppelganger was quickly burned and evaporated by the flames released by the star phantom. It turned out that Luo Xingtian, who was forced into a desperate situation, burned his primordial spirit, blood qi, and divine essence with a secret method to release an amazing ability to restrain the blood shadow doppelganger. You're indeed capable to be ranked in the top 10. Su Fong lost some of his blood qi after one of his blood shadow doppelganger was killed. His aura became even more dispirited. Suddenly, Su Fong took out the sky-shadowing star flag. After activating it, it released countless rays of starlight and turned the sky into a starry sky filled with stars. In the blink of an eye, a vast divine power enveloped the entire array world. It changed the sky and the sun, obscuring the secrets of the heavens and blocking the senses of the outside world. Damn it! Su Fong is activating the supreme, divine weapon of our clan. Fan Shu saw this scene from the altar below and was shocked and angry. The sky-shadowing star flag has the ability to conceal the heavenly Tao, but it doesn't have any offensive power. What is Su Fong doing? The other geniuses were discussing and didn't understand Su Fong's intention. "Su Fong, don't go too far. Only Tao Emperors of primordial spirit appeared in the array world." "Yes," Su Fong cupped his fists and said. "However, He was laughing in his heart, not allowed to go overboard. That meant they could still play around. Few in a flash, Su Fong arrived in front of Luo Xingtian. The purple cloud Dharma spirit burst out with a controlling divine power. The star robe on Luo Xingtian's body trembled violently, and the surrounding defense completely collapsed. However, the star phantasm formed by Luo Xingtian burning himself was still there. Let's see how long you can last after using this secret technique. Su Fong sneered domineeringly. His phaseless fire cloud saber covered the sky and swallowed Luo Xingtian. Then, there was an earth-shattering explosion. Luo Xingtian staggered and escaped from the area enveloped by the flaming cloud saber light. The star phantasm on his body had disappeared without a trace. His life force was weak, and his whole body was covered with burn marks from the saber light. Whoosh! Another blood shadow doppelganger was released by Su Fong and entered Luo Xingtian's body. He went in and out 6 times, each time taking away a large amount of blood chi. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Luo Xingtian kept shouting in horror. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore and admitted defeat. What did you say? You want to fight to the death with me? I didn't expect a genius from the ancient god world to have such a backbone. I, Su Fong, admire you. Su Fong said with admiration. He used the yin and yang divine power of the world to shackle Luo Xingtian, making it difficult for him to move. Luo Xingtian, your star great Tao is indeed powerful. Even if I, Su Fong, can't defeat you, I will fight to the death with you. Su Fong pressed his palm on Luo Xingtian's head and said loudly. His voice was transmitted out of the array world with divine power. However, he used the devouring divine power of the blue sky underworld, which burst out with a loud bang. Luo Xingtian's vision turned black, and he almost fainted. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Wisps of blood chi were quickly sucked into Su Fong's body from his palm. Luo Xingtian's body was aging and shriveling at a speed visible to the naked eye. Blocked by the divine power of the sky, concealing star flag, the people outside couldn't sense what was happening in the array world. When they heard Su Fong's voice, they were all surprised and astonished. Didn't Su Fong break Luo Xingtian's star transformation and have the upper hand? Why is he being controlled by Luo Xingtian now? Su Fong has not recovered from his serious injuries. Luo Xingtian is also a peerless genius who is qualified to be in the top 10. How can Su Fong be a match for Luo Xingtian? Many geniuses were speculating. Stop, I admit defeat. I will give you another 1,000 merit points. Luo Xingtian fell into despair. No one could bear to watch his life and blood chi slip away. What? You want to give me 1,000 merit points? That's too little. Su Fong paused and pondered. 3,000. I will give you 3,000 merit points. That's great, Luo Xingtian. You are such a good person. Not only did you give me a victory for free, you also took the initiative to give me 3,000 merit points. Su Fong let go and put away the sky concealing star flag and the blood shadow doppelganger back in his body. After hearing Su Fong's words, Luo Xingtian, who had just escaped, had no time to rejoice. He was so angry that he spat out another mouthful of blood. Su Fong wins. Only Tao Overlord's majestic voice meant that Su Fong had won the 7th round. If he won 3 more rounds in a row, he would be able to enter the top 10. The array world around Su Fong disappeared and reappeared on the platform. Looking at Luo Xingtian, who had returned to the altar, Su Fong sincerely cupped his fist and said, "Thank you, brother Luo. Next time, if there is such a good thing, remember to look for me." Puffed. Luo Xingtian spat out a mouthful of blood and fell straight on the altar. He was so angry that he fainted. Although they did not understand what happened in the array world, many of the geniuses could see that Luo Xingtian had suffered a great loss this time. Those geniuses who were fighting to be the first to challenge Su Fong were all frightened when they saw Luo Xingtian's ending. They were both relieved and scared. The others looked at Su Fong with eyes full of fear and dread. Su Fong sat cross-legged on the platform and absorbed the chi of blood that the blood shadow doppelganger had devoured. At the same time, he also began to devour elixirs and spiritual items. Ordinary elixirs and spiritual items were not very useful for Su Fang's cultivation and recovery. The elixirs and spiritual items that Su Fang was devouring now were the ancient elixirs that he had obtained from the Golden Rainbow King. The Blue Dome Dominator had also given him a lot. It was a pity that he could not use the yin-yang change to refine and devour these elixirs and spiritual items in front of everyone. Otherwise, his recovery speed would be faster. Why is this ant getting stronger the more he fights? It seems that he was pretending to be seriously injured before. This ant is really despicable. Su Fang is an ascended cultivator. Not only is he extremely lucky, but he also has all kinds of powerful theurgies and techniques. So far, he has not used the theurgies that he created by observing the Chaos Sea. Obviously, he is still hiding his strength. Fan Shu, don't challenge him so easily. Fan Shu and Il Woyang looked at Su Fang carefully for a long time and communicated secretly. Su Fang's performance made Il Woyang feel a little regretful. Only now did he realize that his previous action of challenging Su Fang was a little risky. How can I just watch him enter the top 10 without doing anything? Fan Shu gritted her teeth. Il Woyang said gloomily, wait a little longer. He still has 3 challenges. There will be someone who will challenge him. At the most critical moment, we will give him a fatal blow. This kid's growth speed is really amazing. I was born from the fortune of heaven and earth. Compared to him, I'm still far inferior. Celestial Treasure was also sizing up Su Fang. Before this, his position as the arena master had been taken away by a challenger, so he had to retreat to the altar and prepare to fight. Seeing Su Fang win 7 consecutive battles, Celestial Treasure's eyes were full of fear. Suddenly, a weak red Xian Guang flashed in front of Celestial Treasure. Celestial Treasure's divine light changed slightly, and he grabbed the Xian Guang in his hand. Inside the divine aperture, a flaming figure stood with his hands behind his back and said in a majestic voice, Celestial Treasure, you challenge Su Fang in the next round. Celestial Treasure's yang spirit showed hesitation. The flame figure's flames blazed even brighter. His voice turned icy cold. Celestial Treasure, do you think that just because you want to enter Primordia's heavenly palace, you won't even obey my orders? Celestial Treasure's yang spirit trembled. Celestial Treasure wouldn't dare. Don't forget that your achievements today are all because of my support. You have my mark in your divine aperture. As long as I want to, I can make you disappear from the world at any time. It's just that Su Fang has a supreme method to suppress me. I am definitely not his match. Are you talking about the Purple Chi Dharma Spirit? I want to see what kind of magical supreme spiritual treasure Su Fang's Purple Chi Dharma Spirit is. Even you could be suppressed by it. Celestial Treasure was shocked. Lord Heavenly Fire, are you eyeing Su Fang's Purple Chi Dharma Spirit? You already have a supreme spiritual treasure refined from the great pregnant Purple Chi. Why are you coveting Su Fang's Purple Chi Dharma Spirit? Heavenly Fire. This person was Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. However, his current strength was no longer at the Divine Lord realm when he refined the Demon Monkey. Not only the Purple Chi Dharma Spirit, but I also want the forbidden technique that the Great World's blacksmith used to refine you, as well as his blacksmithing handbook. Celestial Treasure was alarmed and stunned. My master, Emperor Celestial Treasure, refined my great Tao of blacksmithing. You have already obtained it from my memories. He is only a blacksmith from a great world. Well, you're the best blacksmith in a myriad worlds. What use is his blacksmithing handbook to you? Emperor Celestial Treasure's great Tao of blacksmithing is still very crude. There are some parts that even I am unable to fully comprehend. I need his blacksmithing handbook to verify it. Don't underestimate your old master. Mo Tiangong was guided by Su Fang using Emperor Celestial Treasure's great Tao of blacksmithing. Only then did he break through his shackles and reach my level in blacksmithing. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's flaming figure spoke slowly. Seeing Celestial Treasure hesitate, the flaming figure said, I only want you to test Su Fong, not kill him. What are you afraid of? If you continue to make excuses, don't blame me for being ruthless and refining you into a puppet. Yes, under heavenly fire divine Lord Supreme Might, celestial treasures Yang's soul trembled as though it would be incinerated at any moment. He had no choice but to agree. With a flash of fire, heavenly fire divine Lord's flaming figure vanished without a trace. Chapter 2187. There's a murderous look in celestial treasure's eyes. Su Fong's physical body was at the great perfection realm. Coupled with the life-shortening technique and the unraveling technique, he had the ability to sense danger. He immediately sensed that something was amiss in celestial treasure's eyes. No matter who it is, I, Su Fong, will crush them mercilessly if they dare to stop me from entering the top 10. This time, if I meet a god, I will slay a god. If I meet a devil, I will slay a devil. Su Fong's heart was filled with a strong, murderous intent. Time flew by. 3 days later, another round of challenges was over. The results of this round were similar to the previous round. Another arena champion was successfully challenged. However, Su Fong, Goddess Luo, and Di Yuan did not move. Now, only the 3 of them were left of the original 10 arena champions. It was obvious how difficult it was to enter the top 10. The 10 spots to enter the Yuan Tiangong Heavenly Realm Dojo were not enough this time. No one knew what method they would use to make up for the difference. In the inner world of the 7th Gate of Heaven, the battle for the top 10 was in full swing. The experts from the various god clans and super forces outside could not see the process of the battle. All of them were staring intently at the heaven leaderboard in the sky above the illusory palace. However, some of the more powerful deity clans and superpowers were able to get information through the inner world of the Yuan Tiangong. Xuanqin was challenged and lost. The ancient Divine Phoenix clan was a powerful deity clan in the ancient divine world. They had heard about the situation inside the 7th Gate of Heaven. The elites of the ancient Divine Phoenix clan had expected Xuanqin's defeat. The rules of the battle for the top 10 were cruel. Xuanqin's chances of entering the top 10 were not very high. However, the news of Xuanqin's defeat disappointed the elites of the ancient Divine Phoenix clan. Su Fong is indeed extraordinary. He managed to last until now. He might be able to enter the top 10. Transforming into a divine dragon? When Su Fong fought with Luo Xingtian, he actually transformed into a divine dragon and broke Luo Xingtian's star, Dao Divine ability. Could it be that he is related to the Divine Dragon Clan? The ancient Divine Dragon Clan was the leader of the 4 Divine Beast clans. However, during the first upheaval, an ancient Divine Dragon that had fallen long ago in the ancient Divine Dragon Clan's lair was resurrected. The ancient Divine Dragon Clan was unlucky and suffered heavy losses. Many of them died and were unable to recover from the setback. Geniuses from the ancient Divine Dragon Clan had also participated in the Yuan Tiangong entrance test, but none of them had made it into the top 100. QL11, the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan, had many treasures, while the Divine Dragon Clan loved treasures as much as their own lives. Thus, these 2 Divine Beast Ancient Clans had always been at loggerheads with each other. The fact that Su Fong was able to use the mystique of the ancient Divine Dragon Clan shocked the ancient Divine Phoenix Clan. Buzz, the eyes of the red-haired elder of the ancient Divine Phoenix Clan changed slightly. He reached out and grabbed a rune talisman. His eyes swept across the rune talisman, and the red-haired elder's eyebrows furrowed. Those greedy worms are trying to rope in Su Fong. They are even prepared to take out the blood of the ancestral dragon and pull Su Fong into the ancient Divine Dragon Clan at all costs. There was a long silence. Clan leader, Xuanqin and Su Fong are Dao companions. Why don't we go with the flow and fulfill their wish? The one who spoke was Xuanqin's master, the middle-aged woman in white. After a long silence, the red-haired elder said coldly, "Wait until Su Fong can enter the Yuan Tiangong Heavenly Realm Dao field before we consider it. If Su Fong can't even make it into the top 10, then he can directly marry the imperial people. As for the Divine Dragon Clan, They can do whatever they want. They are just the top 100 geniuses. It's not like our ancient divine Phoenix clan doesn't have any. Inside the seventh gate of heaven, only Tao Emperor announced the start of a new round of challenges. This time, the first to be challenged were the newly promoted arena lords. Su Fong didn't have anyone to challenge for a while. Clearly, they were shocked by the results of Di Yuang, Il Luoyang, Luo Xingtian, and the other challengers. Only Di Yuan, Goddess Luo, and Su Fong didn't accept any challenges from the 10 arena lords. There was an awkward silence on the Dharma altar below. Fan Shu was hesitating about whether she should challenge the arena lords herself, and only Tao Emperor was about to announce that the 3 of them could pick out the geniuses to challenge when Heavenly Treasure's cold voice sounded. I challenged Su Fong. As the voice fell, a murderous aura and a strong desire to battle surged from the Dharma altar. Whoosh! Heavenly Treasure was like an arrow shot from a bow. With a sharp sound, he appeared on the platform where Su Fong was. Only Tao Emperor's divine light wrapped around Heavenly Treasure. He said majestically, "Let's begin." On the platform where Su Fong was, the power of an array formation erupted and quickly transformed into a vast material continent. Wong, Wong, Wong. Su Fong was about to speak when suddenly, some mysterious Tao runes from fate flashed in his mind. Heaven's secret life, shrinking technique. Someone is sensing my aura? Previously, many experts were sensing Su Fong's aura. Some of them were sensing powers. With Su Fong's current strength, even if he cultivated the Heaven's secret life, shrinking technique, he wouldn't be able to sense them. Naturally, they were all venerable emperors. The strange thing was that this sensing force actually gave Su Fong a very familiar feeling. Yet it was also very unfamiliar. Who is this person? While Su Fong was puzzled, an earth-shattering roar suddenly sounded from the depths of his body. Heavenly fire! I swear to kill you. It turned out that the immortal blood spirit refined from the demon monkey's remnant obsession was roaring furiously in his inner world. It wanted to rush out of his body. Heavenly fire, Divine Lord. So this person is Heavenly fire, Divine Lord. I didn't expect him to still be alive. Strange, why is he sensing my aura? Su Fong was astounded. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was a refinement master from the same era as Golden Rainbow King. Su Fong believed that he had long perished, but he never expected his sensing power to suddenly appear and sense Su Fong's fate aura. Celestial is also somewhat strange. In the great world, if not for me, he would never have been born. Furthermore, I had an agreement with him back then. Once I surpassed him, he would recognize me as his master. Although he has gone back on his word, he wouldn't have such an intense desire to fight me. Su Fong connected Celestial and Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's senses together. He was increasingly puzzled as he cast the Heaven's secret life, shrinking technique to sense Celestial's fate aura. Hum, hum, hum. As Su Fong expected, the Tao runes from fate immediately stirred. After carefully sensing it, Su Fong sensed an aura similar to Heavenly Fire Divine Lords from Celestial. Furthermore, it was extremely clear. Su Fong thought to himself, Celestial is indeed related to Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. It's even possible that his challenge to me was instigated by Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Why is Heavenly Fire Divine Lord targeting me? I have to be careful of this person in the future. Su Fong, if you are defeated in this battle, our previous agreement will be written off. Celestial sent a voice transmission to Su Fong through his essence soul. Su Fong returned with a question, "What if you are defeated?" Celestial replied arrogantly, "If I'm defeated, there's no way you can become my master. Celestial, will absolutely not become a tool. Since you don't wish to be a tool controlled by others, I won't force it. If you are defeated, I only need to ask you a few questions. You have to answer truthfully. It's a deal." The moment Celestial's voice faded, he took a huge stride towards Su Fong. Every step he took produced a rumbling boom. Each step crossed more than 50 kilometers as his aura rose significantly. By the time he arrived in front of Su Fong, his aura had reached its peak. It gave Su Fong the feeling of a mountain crushing down on him. Celestial was planning on clashing with Su Fong with his divine body. "Since you aren't convinced, I'll beat you until you are." Su Fong sneered domineeringly. The blood and qi in his body surged like a divine dragon as the strength of his perfected body erupted. Boom! It was as though two mountains had collided with each other, forming a shocking shockwave that caused the mountain range below to collapse. Even the space trembled and distorted. Su Fong was blasted back more than 50 kilometers. Cracks appeared on the surface of his divine body as blood spurted out. Many of his bones and meridians were broken. His organs were also shaken violently. Although Su Fong had a perfected body and an extremely powerful divine body, Celestial was a human-shaped divine artifact. The strength of his divine body had exceeded the peak of supreme grade, reaching the height of royal grade. No matter how powerful Su Fong's divine body was, it could not be compared to a royal grade divine artifact. In addition, he had not recovered from the blood and qi he had expended in the battle with the Luoyang and Luo Xingtian. He was naturally no match for Celestial. If it weren't for Su Fong's perfect physical body and various true body constitutions, his divine body would have collapsed from this collision alone. A divine body comparable to a divine artifact. What kind of monster is Celestial? Su Fong's body is also so powerful. Monsters. Both of them are monsters. The collision between the two of them caused many geniuses to exclaim in surprise. Celestial said proudly, "Su Fong, you can't compete with me in terms of divine body. Perhaps you can transform into a divine dragon or a golden giant to fight me. If that's the case, let's try again." Great Titan form. Su Fong took a step forward as a golden life aura surged out from his body. In an instant, the mysterious golden heavenly mark erupted from his meridians, flesh, and even hair. Celestial's body also began to undergo a shocking transformation as it enlarged. In a breath's time, Su Fong had transformed into a 5-foot-tall giant. In order to reduce the consumption of his energy, Su Fong did not fully display the Great Titan form. Celestial's fighting spirit erupted as he charged toward Su Fong again. Herculean Divine Palm. The enlarged Su Fong's arm shook as he struck out golden palm prints in the air. They carried a terrifying aura that could suppress everything as they charged toward Celestial. What a powerful fist technique! Celestial's fist collided with a golden palm print formed by the Herculean Divine Palm and shattered it. However, Celestial's attack was also stopped. Boom! Boom! The last palm print sent Celestial flying. Celestial's powerful divine body also showed signs of shattering. You have mastered such a shocking fist technique. This is not some physical strength, but a divine ability. I'll show you the true talent of Celestial. Chapter 2188. Celestial Treasure was a human-shaped divine artifact. Not only could it use all kinds of great path theurgies, but it could also imitate different divine artifacts and unleash a shocking aura. In order to lure Su Fong into using the purple Qi Dharma spirit, Celestial Treasure did not use any theurgies. Instead, it used its innate ability. At this time, although he did not transform into a long spear, he erupted with the terrifying aura of a long spear divine weapon that could sweep away thousands of soldiers like a hot knife through butter. He charged towards Su Fong, giving Su Fong the feeling that he was facing an invincible, peerless warrior. Puff! 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 Su Fong raised his arms again and struck out a series of powerful palms, but they were all broken by Celestial Treasure's aura. However, Celestial Treasure's aura was also greatly depleted. Su Fong's giant Vajra body also consumed a shocking amount of energy. Slash! Celestial Treasure suddenly leaped high and swung its arms down. Its aura changed instantly. It was powerful and domineering, with a terrifying aura that could cut through heaven and earth. Su Fong's palms were shattered layer by layer. His gigantified body was affected by the aura. Fortunately, he had the powerful defensive ability of the indestructible golden body. Otherwise, he would have been injured. Puff, puff. Celestial Treasure's attacks became fiercer and fiercer. Even with the indestructible golden body, Su Fong could not withstand it. Is this Celestial Treasure's innate ability? The human-shaped divine artifact refined by Celestial Treasure Emperor is indeed extraordinary. If I want to defeat him, it seems that I have to use the purple Chi Dharma spirit, and end this battle as soon as possible. Su Fong did not want to continue fighting with Celestial Treasure. He did not plan to use the Kai Tian seal, nor did he want to use the yin-yang change now. There were still 2 fierce battles to come. The mysterious purple Chi was released from Su Fong's body. The supreme power of controlling the Dharma treasure exploded and enveloped Celestial Treasure. The purple Chi Dharma spirit could even control heaven and earth like a Dharma treasure. Celestial Treasure was a genuine divine artifact. Both the purple Chi Dharma spirit and Celestial Treasure were made by Celestial Treasure Emperor. Therefore, the power of the purple Chi Dharma spirit had a fatal restraint and control over Celestial Treasure. Celestial Treasure's aura suddenly disappeared. Its body trembled violently and revealed a look of horror. His primordial spirit was actually the primordial spirit of the divine artifact. At this moment, it could only tremble in fear before the might of the purple cloud Dharma spirit. I can't accept this. Celestial Treasure's eyes were filled with fear. However, he did not choose to admit defeat. Instead, a ruthless and resolute expression flashed across his face. A terrifying divine might of flames with the aura of the way of the heavens rolled out. It instantly spread out and enveloped the surroundings. Clusters of flames surrounded Su Fong. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The might of the flames clearly contained the terrifying presence of heavenly fire. Furthermore, it caused the Tao inscriptions of fate to flash in the depths of Su Fong's mind once more. Heavenly Fire, Divine Lord, I swear I will kill you. Within Su Fong's body, the demon monkey roared crazily again. It was almost out of Su Fong's control. Heavenly Fire, Divine Lord. This is Heavenly Fire, Divine Lord's flames. Su Fong sensed Heavenly Fire, Divine Lord's destiny aura in the flames and could not help but feel astounded. The divine might of the flames was too terrifying. It was a flame formed by refining the fire of heavenly tribulation. Su Fong knew that even his 9-yang divine fire would find it difficult to resist the divine might of the flames. It was not that the 9-yang divine fire was not high enough, but that his current cultivation level was insufficient. The gap between him and Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was just too great. Prehistoric inflammation. 9-yang divine fire. Illusory fire cloud. Yin-yang divine might. Su Fong quickly released the prehistoric inflammation from the primordial chaos divine mirror. At the same time, he conjured the 9-yang divine fire and cast the illusory fire cloud, turning it into a blazing fire cloud. The fire cloud swept out with a whoosh. 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 1,000 feet, boom. The illusory fire cloud collided with Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's heavenly fire, causing a towering wave of fire. QL11, all the mountains, rivers, and forests in the array world created by an emperor expert were instantly reduced to ashes by the terrifying divine might of the flames. However, the array remained unshakable. The illusory fire cloud formed by Su Fong instantly shrunk to a size of 1,000 feet. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's heavenly fire engulfed the illusory fire cloud with a whoosh, intending to incinerate Su Fong. The geniuses outside were surprised and shocked when they saw this scene. The divine might of the flames cast by Heavenly Treasure had completely exceeded the level of an ultimate god. It had even surpassed the level of a territorial lord. It was an astonishing flame that only an over-god expert could cast. However, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's divine might was not cast by him personally. It was a flame sealed within Heavenly Treasure's body. Otherwise, even a territorial lord expert would be instantly incinerated to ashes. Goddess Luo and Xuanqing exclaimed at the same time. Fool! Di Yuan raised his eyebrows and scoffed at Su Fang's actions. If it were him, his only choice in the face of such an astonishing flame was to cast a defensive spell or escape. It was absolutely impossible for him to fight it head-on. However, Su Fang had used divine might of the flames to fight it. It was truly reckless. I didn't expect Heavenly Treasure to bring such a big surprise to me. Su Fang will definitely die this time. Once this challenge is over, I'll reward him handsomely. Fan Shu was pleasantly surprised, as were Liu Woyang and Luo Xingtian. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's primordial spirit was currently in the inner world of the seventh gate of heaven, watching the battle between Su Fang and Heavenly Treasure. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was pleasantly surprised when he saw Su Fang's purple aura Dharma spirit. Even Heavenly Treasure had no choice but to surrender. However, to his surprise, Heavenly Treasure had activated Heavenly Fire. Heavenly Fire had been meticulously refined and sealed within Heavenly Treasure's body to protect his life. It was also used to control Heavenly Treasure's Heavenly Fire origin. As Lin Ming was startled, Soul Dao Emperor's thoughts filled with a desolate killing intent arrived. Heaven Fire, how dare you meddle in the palace entrance examination without permission? Do you think you can rely on the support of an Emperor powerhouse to look down on me and challenge the dignity of Primordius Heavenly Palace? How dare I? I only gave Heavenly Treasure a strand of Heavenly Fire origin, but he activated it without permission. It has nothing to do with me. Emperor, please investigate. Get lost. Only Dao Emperor roared, and Heavenly Fire's primordial spirit immediately turned into ashes. Looking at Su Fang, who was being engulfed by the raging Heavenly Fire, only Dao Emperor was about to use his supreme divine power to rescue Su Fang. However, only Dao Emperor raised his eyebrows when he sensed Su Fang, who had turned into a fire cloud. His deep eyes were filled with disbelief. It turned out that the fire cloud formed by Su Fang was constantly emitting a mysterious yin and yang divine power. While it was being engulfed by Heavenly Fire, the yin and yang divine power was constantly seeping into Heavenly Fire. It was actually engulfing and merging Heavenly Fire. At first, the engulfing effect was not very obvious. However, after a dozen breaths, as Heavenly Fire continued to merge with Heavenly Fire, the suppressed fire cloud continued to rise. Gradually, it began to suppress Heavenly Fire, and the engulfing speed became faster and faster. 5 minutes later, the fire cloud suddenly erupted and swept out in all directions. It engulfed the remaining Heavenly Fire like a hurricane. Then, it engulfed and merged with Heavenly Fire until it was completely devoured. The fire cloud churned and contracted, transforming back into Su Fang in his corporeal form. His use of illusory fire cloud had nearly incinerated him by Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Heavenly Fire. Thankfully, his 9 yang divine fire was a supreme flame that surpassed any divine fire. In addition, he had absorbed the 9 yang aura of the ancient realm, and the illusory fire cloud was a supreme fire elemental divine power of the Fire God Ju clan. Only then did he have the right to resist Heavenly Fire. Then, Su Fang took the risk and used the powers of yin and yang to fuse the Heavenly Fire. Su Fang had long sensed that although Heavenly Treasure's flames were powerful, they did not have an essence soul consciousness. This was also the reason why Su Fang dared to take the risk. In addition, Su Fang was not without a trump card. Although he could not use the primordial chaos sacred mirror, he could use the yin-yang transformation to refine the Heavenly Fire into chaos chi at all costs. He never expected that his risky move would succeed in one fell swoop. After devouring the Heavenly Fire, Su Fang's world tree grew rapidly. The 69 yang meridians that were in the process of breaking through trembled violently after absorbing a portion of the Heavenly Fire. A new yang meridian was not far from being successfully born. That was not all he gained. After absorbing the Heavenly Fire's power under the illusory fire cloud state, Su Fang's cultivation level also soared. He reached the peak of the 6th firmament divine venerable realm. as long as he was willing, he could immediately advance to a high-level divine, venerable realm. You actually devoured Lord Heavenly Fire's flames. Heavenly Treasure was shocked as he looked at Su Fong in disbelief. Heavenly Treasure, I had no intention of subduing you and making you my slave. However, you try to kill me. Don't blame me for being heartless. Su Fong shouted domineeringly as he released the divine power of the purple cloud Dharma spirit to shackle Heavenly Treasure. Release your primordial spirit and accept my seal. Otherwise, I'll let the purple cloud Dharma spirit devour your primordial spirit. Su Fong's murderous voice was released along with the divine power of the purple cloud Dharma spirit. Heavenly Treasure smiled bitterly and transmitted his thoughts to Su Fong. Su Fong, it's impossible for you to seal my primordial spirit. My primordial spirit has already been sealed by the Heavenly Fire. The Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord sealed your primordial spirit? Su Fong was not surprised as he immediately used the Divine Secret Life shrinking technique. After carefully sensing it, he found the seal seed left behind by the Heavenly Fire in Heavenly Treasure's primordial spirit. I don't want to be a tool controlled by others. However, I'm still under the control of the Heavenly Fire and can't break free. I originally planned to enter the top 10 in the palace entrance test so that I can break free from the shackles. Unfortunately, my strength is far from enough. Kill me. It's also a form of relief for me. Heavenly Treasure closed his eyes as his cold face was calm. I didn't kill you because you are the product of the Heavenly Treasure Emperor's life. Su Fong's decision surprised Heavenly Treasure. Following that, Su Fong transmitted his primordial spirit. I can still help you break free from the Heavenly Fire shackles. Is that really the case? Heavenly Treasure was pleasantly surprised. Immediately, the glimmer of hope in his eyes dimmed. You are only helping me to make me your puppet. What's the difference between being controlled by you and being controlled by the Heavenly Fire? Chapter 2189. You can help me escape Heavenly Fire's shackles? Celestial Treasure found it hard to believe. The strength Su Fong had displayed left Celestial Treasure in awe. However, Su Fong was only at the godly venerable realm, while Heavenly Fire's cultivation was unfathomable. He was second only to an Emperor Realm expert. In Celestial Treasure's heart, he was an irresistible supreme existence. No matter how strong Su Fong was, it was impossible for him to erase Heavenly Fire's essence soul imprint. I can help you erase Heavenly Fire's imprint on your essence soul. However, whether you can escape his control is up to you. I can't do anything about it. Su Fong's firm tone made Celestial Treasure believe him. When he recalled how Su Fong had devoured Heavenly Fire, he became even more convinced. Therefore, Celestial Treasure opened his divine aperture and allowed Su Fong's essence soul to enter. Su Fong's consciousness penetrated layer by layer, and in the depths of Celestial Treasure's essence soul, he found an imprint. There was a tiny flame phantom sitting cross-legged in it. It was a wisp of Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord's essence soul. Arrogant Junior, how dare you offend me? You overestimate yourself. On account of Unifiend Emperor, I will spare your life. However, I will make you suffer. Heavenly Fire's essence soul bellowed. Boom! Flames surged into the sky as Su Fong's essence soul saw a sea of fire that was about to burn his essence soul to ashes. Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique, suppress fate. Su Fong did not hesitate to use the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique. At his present cultivation level, his essence soul's power was impressive, but it was still insufficient to resist Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Even a wisp of essence soul's consciousness was not something he could withstand. However, Su Fong had a supreme divine power that specialized in restraining essence souls. Ignoring Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's wisp of essence soul's consciousness, Su Fong could even easily kill Heavenly Fire's true body. Chi, Chi, Chi. The mysterious Tao runes from fate clashed with Heavenly Fire's essence soul's divine might. Heavenly Fire's essence soul, which had a powerful aura, was immediately reduced to ashes upon contact with the Tao runes of fate. QL 11-inch Su Fong, how dare you spoil my plans? I swear I'll kill you. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's essence, soul consciousness was enveloped by the Destiny Tao runes as he bellowed angrily. I have an Emperor Realm Master protecting me, and I'm about to enter Yuan Tiangong. I even have the confidence to enter the Heavenly Realm Tao field. Even an Emperor Realm Master wouldn't dare to touch me. You aren't even an Emperor Realm Master, yet you dare to kill me? Su Fong shouted coldly. Sovereign Sang Xiao had personally acted as his Tao protector. This time, when he entered the Imperial Palace, he had shocked the world with a single brilliant feat. He had attracted the attention of many experts, and the greater his fame, the less people would dare to make a move on him. When geniuses like Fan Shu and Yi Luoyang wanted to kill Su Fong, the Emperor Realm Masters naturally wouldn't pay any attention to them. Instead, they would treat it as a form of training for Su Fong. If a peerless powerhouse like Heavenly Fire Divine Lord were to personally take action, he would be obliterated by an Emperor powerhouse before he could even take action. It was precisely because Su Fong had calculated this that he dared to erase the primordial spirit imprint for the Heavenly Fire. He had to figure out why Heavenly Fire was targeting him. Otherwise, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, who was hiding in the dark, would be a huge threat. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's primordial spirit was in a deadlock with the life-shrinking technique for a while before it was incinerated by the Tao runes of fate. You actually managed to destroy Heavenly Fire's primordial spirit imprint. Heavenly Treasure fell into an intense shock. The feeling of regaining freedom surprised and delighted him. Then, Heavenly Treasure discovered that Su Fong hadn't left an imprint on his primordial spirit. He was grateful to Su Fong, but he was also completely convinced by Su Fong's magnanimity. Tell me about Heavenly Fire later. Admit defeat. Su Fong withdrew the shackles on Heavenly Treasure's divine might. Su Fong, although I won't submit to you, I will remember this great kindness forever. Heavenly Treasure transmitted his primordial spirit voice to Su Fong. Then he shouted loudly, I admit defeat. The array formation world he was in vanished as Heavenly Treasure was sent back to the altar. Su Fong also reappeared on the platform. Su Fong hurriedly entered the cave abode of time. Although he had successfully devoured Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Heavenly Fire, he had expended quite a bit of energy. He quickly devoured all sorts of resources to recover and prepare for the next cruel challenge. Su Fong has won 8 consecutive matches. If he wins 2 more, he will enter the top 10. He was able to devour such a terrifying flame. Among the top 100 geniuses, other than Di Yuan and Goddess Luo, who else can stop him? The geniuses on the altar discussed fervently. Young Master Shu, it looks like there's no way to stop Su Fong this time. We can only watch helplessly as he enters the top 10. Il Woyang sent a voice transmission to Fan Shu helplessly. I'm indignant. So what if you're indignant? Su Fong has the strength to enter the top 10. Who would dare challenge him? Do you dare? Fan Shu was rendered speechless. No matter how arrogant he was, he had completely lost the courage to challenge Su Fong after witnessing Su Fong's powerful strength and endless means. Suddenly, Su Fong flew out of the cave abode of time and landed on the platform. The moment he sat down, tribulation aura spewed out from his body and rapidly burned in a tribulation fire. He broke through. Su Fong actually broke through at this moment. The geniuses were dumbfounded. Goddess Luo and Xuanqin were pleasantly surprised. Immediately, they frowned. An advancement was obviously a good thing, but now was not the time. Su Fong still had to face 2 more challenges. How long would it take for him to complete his advancement? Even if he could complete his advancement in time, it would be difficult for him to stabilize his realm in a short period of time. If he were to fight other geniuses in such a state, it might even cause his realm to drop. Not only would he be beaten back to his original state, but his cultivation foundation would also be damaged. Unidao Emperor raised his eyebrows and shook his head helplessly with a sigh. He thought to himself that Su Fong had no hope of entering the top 10 this time. Fan Shu, Il Woyang, and Luo Xingtian laughed in unison. To them, the opportunity had come. Su Fang's body was enveloped by tribulation fire. His eyes were filled with helplessness. After devouring heavenly fire divine, Lord's heavenly fire, too much high-level energy had accumulated in his body. It made it difficult for him to control the eruption of tribulation aura. If he forcefully suppressed it, it might cause his divine abode to shatter. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and advance at this moment. I've missed the opportunity to enter the top 10, just like that. Su Fang's heart was filled with unwillingness. However, he quickly adjusted his mindset. An advancement was a good thing. Even if he could not enter the Yuan Tiangong Heavenly Realm Dojo this time, he would still have a chance in the future. Hence, Su Fang let go of all his burdens and focused on breaking through to the 7th firmament divine realm. The 9 yang divine fire, an illusory fire cloud erupted. Together with the tribulation fire, his divine body shattered layer by layer under the impact of the tribulation aura. Impurities seeped out of his divine body. Then, under the burning of the tribulation fire and illusory fire cloud, his divine body was once again remolded and refined like a divine artifact. What a pity! Unidao Emperor glanced at Su Fang and sighed in his heart. Then, he looked at the geniuses below and said majestically, "Next, Goddess Luo will accept the challenge." Who wants to challenge her? After a long while, no one came forward to challenge her. Goddess Luo's powerful strength made many geniuses shrink back. Up until now, she had not encountered any strong challenges and had not expended much energy. If anyone tried to stop her from entering the top 10, they would only be humiliating themselves. "I challenge Goddess Luo." A cold voice sounded from one of the altars. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Everyone's eyes focused on the altars. When they saw the challenger, they were shocked and stunned. The challenger was none other than Xuanxin. Aren't they both Su Fang's Dao partners? Why would Xuanxin take the initiative to challenge Goddess Luo now? Which woman would tolerate another woman sharing her man? It's normal for Xuanxin to challenge Goddess Luo. With two such peerless women fighting each other for Su Fang's affections, even if Su Fang were to die, he would have no regrets. I'm afraid things aren't that simple. Everyone discussed and had different opinions. They could not figure out Xuanxin's intentions. What an intelligent woman. Only Dao Emperor could see through Xian Xian's intentions with a single glance and praised her in his mind. Then he nodded and said, "Approved." Xuanxin's white robe fluttered as he slowly flew to the platform where Goddess Luo was. "Let's begin." Unidao Emperor waved his sleeve and activated the array on the platform. Xuanxin and Goddess Luo appeared in the sky above a material continent. The two of them were thousands of miles apart. They looked at each other from afar. After a long time, no one made the first move. These two peerless women seemed to have a deep grudge. They had been accumulating their strength and aura for so long. Once they explode, it will be extremely tragic. Of course, once a mortal woman is jealous, she will be even fiercer than a tigress. What more than a mortal? Everyone waited in anticipation. Who knew? After waiting for an hour, the two of them still did not seem to have any intention of making the first move. Damn it! These two bitches are actually trying to stall for time for Su Fang. Fan Shu shouted angrily. Everyone finally realized what was going on. Then they shouted angrily. Unidao Emperor raised his eyebrows and said, "If the two of you don't make the first move, I will cancel the challenge." "Yes," Xuanxin and Goddess Luo said at the same time. Then, the two of them made their moves at the same time. All kinds of dazzling magical powers were displayed. It was very lively. The most intense battle since they entered the palace took place in the array world. Not only was it dazzling, but it was also difficult to tell who was better in a short time. The geniuses present were not stupid. They could tell at a glance that they were putting on an act. However, the rules did not forbid it. They could only watch helplessly. Unidao Emperor closed his eyes and turned a blind eye to the scene in the array world. As for the other Yuan Tiangong heaven punishers, even the Emperor ignored them. Naturally, they would not meddle. Su Fang, who was burning in the tribulation fire, saw the scene in the array world. Waves of warmth surged in his heart. The battle between Xuanxin and Goddess Luo lasted for a month. It was really a fierce battle. Many geniuses were about to fall asleep. Fan Shu, Il Woyang, Luo Xingtian, and the others were all gnashing their teeth. However, there was nothing they could do. The tribulation fire on Su Fang's body slowly disappeared. He controlled the power of advancement and began to attack his physical body. At this moment, Su Fang saw that his divine dwelling, star vortex, physical body, divine aperture, and yang spirit all had an additional heavenly mark. His aura was not at the 6th level, but the 7th. Chapter 2190. It's really not the right time to advance. Su Fang smiled bitterly. Goddess Luo and Xuanxin did their best to stall for time, giving him time to advance. However, Su Fang had just advanced, and his body was in a state of emptiness. Even if he completed the advancement, it would be difficult for him to withstand the next round of challenges. Fan Shu deliberately wanted to prevent Su Fang from entering the top 10, so she would not let go of such an opportunity. He completed the advancement in a little more than a month. Is this Su Fang a human or a demon? Su Fang is cultivated for less than 200,000 years, but he's already a high-level supreme god. Such speed of advancement is really amazing. Su Fang definitely has the strength to enter the top 10. Unfortunately, he has advanced at this time. It's impossible for him to pass the next 2 challenges. Whether or not he can enter the top 10, Su Fang's performance in this entrance test is enough to attract the attention of venerable sovereigns. He will also be valued in the Yuan Tiangong. Many geniuses discussed animatedly. Even some geniuses from the ancient god world had to admire Su Fang. Fan Shu sneered in her heart. Even if those 2 bitches are deliberately stalling for time, it will be difficult for you to enter the top 10 this time. If I have the chance, I won't mind killing you at all. In the void, a primordial spirit appeared in front of Only Dao Emperor. Only Dao Emperor laughed. Sang Xiao, you can't keep your cool anymore. Su Fang will be the hope of the human race in the face of the apocalypse. At this critical moment, I naturally have to come and see for myself. Only Dao Emperor snorted. Some people can't wait for him to die as soon as possible. A bunch of short-sighted fools. The venerable sovereigns joined hands to create the Yuan Tiangong. Some ancient god clans have treated the Yuan Tiangong as their backyard. Su Fang suddenly appeared to steal their benefits, and he's so dazzling. How can they not hate him? Looks like Su Fang won't be able to enter the Yuan Tiangong heavenly realm this time. Fine, I'll just treat it as a form of training. It's time for these 2 Dao companions of his to put an end to these little tricks. If this continues, then I'm afraid others will criticize them. Only Dao Emperor's divine light flashed as his majestic voice reverberated throughout the array formation world. If you 2 girls don't finish within 2 hours, both of you will be considered to have failed. Goddess Luo and Xuanxin had no choice but to end their magnificent performance. Just as Xuanxin was about to admit defeat, Goddess Luo suddenly shouted, I'm no match for Phoenix Xuanxin. I admit defeat. Goddess Luo, you... Xuanxin was shocked. It's just 10 wins in a row. I'll just start from the beginning. Goddess Luo smiled faintly. Her tone was overbearing. Goddess Luo only needed 2 more victories to enter the top 10 of Yuan Tiangong. Now that she had voluntarily given up, everyone was very surprised. Su Fang was also very surprised. He didn't understand Goddess Luo's intention. The array formation world disappeared. Xuanxin appeared on the platform where Goddess Luo had been. He became the arena master again. Goddess Luo was sent to the spiritual altar below. Su Fang asked with a voice transmission, Goddess, what's the meaning of this? Goddess Luo replied, I will challenge you in the next round. Hurry up and recover. Su Fang immediately understood Goddess Luo's intention. He was very touched. Then, Goddess Luo's sharp gaze swept past the spiritual altars below. Many geniuses, especially Fan Shu, Il Woyang, and the others, felt an extreme sense of danger under Goddess Luo's gaze. They felt cold all over. Then, Goddess Luo revealed her overbearing aura. I will challenge Su Fang in the next round. Who dares to snatch him from me? Fan Shu smiled coldly and said, I want to snatch him from you. So what? Goddess Luo's voice was as cold as ice. If you succeed in challenging Su Fong, I will challenge you directly. I will destroy your cultivation path during the battle. If you fail, even if you enter the Yuan Tiangong in the future, I will use all means to make you suffer forever. Even the Sanskrit will not be able to protect you. Fan Shu was afraid in her heart. However, she didn't show any weakness on the surface. I am not someone who can be threatened. Why would I be afraid of a wild woman like you who came out of nowhere? You killed the ancestor of the Sanskrit and ruined the plan of the Sanskrit. When I find out who you are, your family and sect will all be suppressed by us. As for you, you will become my plaything. As soon as she finished speaking, a beam of divine power descended from the sky and enveloped Fan Shu. Under this divine power, Fan Shu was like a tiny ant. Before he could react, the power of heaven and earth pressed down on him as if the sky was collapsing. Pooh! Fan Shu spat out blood. All the bones in his body were broken. Although it looked miserable, it was nothing to an immortal. As long as his head and heart were not broken, he could recover with blood and chi in an instant. He just had to consume some of his lifeblood and chi. Sizzle! Blood and chi surged in Fan Shu's body. His body quickly recovered. However, he was horrified to find that he couldn't make a sound. His voice was sealed by the divine power. Fan Shu looked at the person who attacked him. He was extremely shocked. His eyes were filled with horror and fear. The person who attacked him was only Dao Di. Fan Shu said in a trembling voice through his primordial spirit, Lord Di. At this time, a primordial spirit voice exploded in Fan Shu's mind. You idiot. If you continue to talk nonsense, I will kill you directly. Otherwise, you will bring disaster to the Sanskrit. Fan Shu was completely stunned. Ancestor, do you know who that woman is? This junior doesn't know. This ancestor doesn't know either. However, this ancestor knows that her master is someone even the supreme existence from the imperial clan would treat as an honored guest. Our ancestor's resurrection plan was placed in the Brahma heaven god realm to prevent the secret from being leaked. But that woman ruined it. It was only after I personally investigated her background that I learned that she had such a powerful background. But you want to kill her family and sect? Fan Shu felt like 100 heavenly thunders were rumbling in his head. Remember, you can use your own strength to crush other geniuses. No matter what you do, it is within the rules. If you use the power of the Sanskrit, even the Sanskrit can't protect you. The heaven-filthy thunder fruit is too stinky to be smelled. Even I can't bear it. Sanskrit's voice gradually faded away after the venerable Didi's reprimand. First, Su Fong had made Fan Shu's reputation stink. This time, trouble came from the mouth. She had been sealed by only Dao Di Zun. It could be said that she had bad luck recently. Naturally, she blamed everything on Su Fong. She looked at Su Fong and gritted her teeth. At this time, Di Yuan had already named a genius to start the last challenge of the 8th round. Su Fong no longer hesitated or held back. He flipped his right hand, and a Xian Guang rolled out a large number of pills, spirit items, gems, divine stones, and even tens of millions of divine jades floating in front of him. These resources were all earth-grade treasures of the Golden Rainbow King's treasury. Su Fong promised to ask the venerable Di to resurrect the Golden Rainbow King after he entered the Yuan Tiangong. The Golden Rainbow King was no longer stingy at this time. So many treasures made the eyes of some geniuses green with envy. Fan Shu sneered in her heart. These pills and spirit items are good, but how many can you swallow in such a short time? Aren't you afraid that your divine body will explode? And those gems, divine stones, and divine jades are useless for recovery. Are you just showing them off? The next moment, a burst of divine power erupted from Su Fong's body. The supreme heavenly way's divine power, which gave birth to all things and evolved into all things, shrouded the various resources floating in front of him. Sizzle, the pills, spirit items, and various other resources began to decompose in an instant, turning into their original state. Then, they quickly turned into a supreme power of creation and were sucked into Su Fong's mouth. In the void, There were exclamations of amazement. Is this the divine power he created after comprehending the chaos sea? This seal contains the heavenly ways wisdom. Although it's a little rough, it's enough to show that this kid's inner world has been cultivated to an astonishing level. I don't know what kind of fortune this kid has obtained to cultivate an inner world and create such an amazing divine power. If Su Fong is carefully nurtured, his achievements won't be any weaker than Di Yuan's. He will definitely be a pillar of our human race in the future. Sang Qiu is indeed discerning to have found such a peerless genius. Su Fong naturally couldn't hear the discussions of the emperors. At this moment, the majestic life force in his body was suddenly erupting, surging and howling. His life force was crazily rising. Not only that, the great yin seal drew in the natural spiritual qi of heaven and earth and gathered toward him like a tsunami. Under the great yin divine power, there was a reversal. Su Fong's empty divine body was rapidly recovering at a cultivation speed that was 100 times faster than before, and his aura was rising crazily. At this moment, Di Yuan had already defeated the challenger he had named. When he looked at Su Fong, his eyes were no longer calm, but filled with shock and a faint hint of jealousy. Goddess Luo flew in front of Su Fong. At this moment, her identity was that of a challenger. Only Tao Emperor activated the array, and the two appeared in the world created by the array and the divine power. Su Fong sat cross-legged in the air and took out another pile of resources. Then, he formed another seal and recovered at an astonishing speed. Goddess Luo looked at Su Fong quietly, and a strange light flashed in her deep eyes. After about 6 hours, Su Fong stood up. At this moment, whether it was his physical body, the divine energy in his body, or the yin-yang energy of the world, they had all recovered to their peak state. Goddess Luo smiled slightly, then shouted, "I admit defeat." Just like that, Su Fong obtained his 9th victory. If he won another match, he would be able to enter the top 10 of the palace entrance test, which meant that he could enter the heavenly realm dojo of Yuan Tiangong. The array world disappeared, and Su Fong returned to the platform. His sharp gaze swept across the geniuses. Wherever his gaze landed, the geniuses all lowered their heads. No one dared to meet his gaze. Finally, Su Fong's gaze landed on Fan Shu. "You want to challenge me? I'll give you a chance." Chapter 2191. Fan Shu snorted, but because only Tao Emperor had sealed her mouth, she couldn't make a sound. She could only use her primordial spirit to say, "I will challenge whoever I want to challenge, and I won't challenge whoever I don't want to challenge. How can I be controlled by you?" She was obviously afraid of the challenge, but she said it so eloquently that all the geniuses couldn't help but laugh. Fan Shu was already stinky and disgusting, and now he felt even more disgusted. The 9th round of challenges ended quickly. So far, only Su Fong and Di Yuan had maintained a winning streak. The others only had 3 consecutive victories at most. When the last round of challenges began, only Tao Emperor said majestically, "First, Su Fong will accept the challenge. If he wins, Su Fong will be the first genius to step into the top 10. Who will challenge him?" After a long while, no one took the initiative to challenge him. Only Tao Emperor said, "Su Fong, you name the challenger." Su Fong looked at Fan Shu with sharp eyes. Fan Shu forced herself to be calm and secretly said, "Su Fong, I admit that you are qualified to be ranked in the top 10. If you name me, I will take the initiative to admit defeat. You won't win honorably, and you will offend my clan. The loss outweighs the gain. You bully the weak and fear the strong. How can you be called a genius?" Su Fong sneered disdainfully. Soon after, he coldly and embarrassedly said, "I, Su Fong, have always been the type of person who pays back what others owe me tenfold. Previously, you repeatedly targeted me and nearly caused me to be unable to enter the top 10. I will definitely not laugh it off. Don't worry, with so many strong masters watching, I won't kill you. Su Fong, don't go too far. I am bullying you, so what?" Su Fong pointed at Fan Shu and shouted, "I challenge Fan Shu." Many geniuses looked at Fan Shu with sympathy. Everyone knew that Fan Shu could only go up and be humiliated this time. Fan Shu gritted her teeth and had no choice but to fly up to the platform. As soon as the two of them appeared in the array world, Fanshu opened her mouth and shouted, ready to admit defeat. Who would have thought that he would not be able to say a single word? Only then did he remember that he had been personally sealed by Lone Dao Emperor, so he could not even admit defeat. He immediately fell into despair. When people were in despair, they could often unleash their potential. Fanshu gritted her teeth, and a ruthless look flashed in her eyes. She unleashed her most powerful attack, and a terrifying divine might that seemed capable of collapsing the heavenly Tao and destroying all things instantly enveloped the entire array world. During the chaotic battle, you've already used Sanskrit's powerful divine ability. You couldn't even withstand a single blow. Su Fong sneered disdainfully. He used the Kai Tian Madra and tore apart Fan Shu's divine might. Fan Shu opened her mouth and spat out a palm-sized jade seal. She spat out a drop of blood on the seal. The seal characters formed by the heavenly marks on the seal instantly turned bright red. The natural energy of heaven and earth quickly converged on the jade seal, and the heavenly Tao's divine might resonated with it. At this moment, Fan Shu used the divine artifact to control the entire array world. She was indeed from the ancient divine clan. She actually had such an extraordinary divine artifact. Although it was only at the peak of the supreme grade, its power was no less than that of an ordinary royal divine artifact. Boom! The jade seal appeared above Su Fong's head, and a world-suppressing divine might suddenly descended. Su Fong felt the power of the entire array world pressing down on him. He smiled disdainfully and formed another Madra. Kai Tian Madra. Boom! Su Fong stood firm. QL11, the jade seal, was knocked away. The Kai Tian Madra not only contained the power to split the heavens and earth, but also had the ability to break all spells. Bursts of cracking sounds came from the jade seal, and it was quickly covered with dense cracks. Fanshu was dumbfounded. She had already seen the power of Su Fong's self-created divine ability, but she did not expect it to be so terrifying. At this moment, Su Fong formed another Madra. It was the Kai Tian Madra again. After reaching the seventh heaven of Supreme God Realm, it became much easier to use the Kai Tian Madra as her cultivation improved. She could use it at least 3 times in a row. Su Fong, you've gone too far. Fanshu was shocked and angry at the same time. Su Fong was obviously going to crush him brutally and overbearingly with his supreme divine power. Boom! Fanshu's royal divine armor had just appeared when it was bombarded by the Kai Tian Madra's terrifying power. The divine armor shattered, and Fanshu was sent flying like a cannonball. Before Fanshu could come to his senses, Su Fong used the wings of Fire Cloud and flew over. He directly bombarded Fan Shu's body with his divine body strength. Fan Shu could clearly hear the sound of his bones breaking, his flesh collapsing, and his meridians breaking. Waves of intense pain hit him, but he was sealed and could not surrender even if he wanted to. He could only let out hoarse screams and release his primordial spirit at the same time. Unexpectedly, the primordial spirit's voice was like a stone sinking into the sea. Only Dao Emperor paid no attention to it. Just as he was in despair, Su Fong's attacks suddenly stopped. Fanshu was surprised and delighted. He hurriedly urged his blood and qi to frantically heal his injured divine body. Who knew? Just as he recovered some of his shattered divine body, boom, 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 boom. Only then did Fanshu realize that Su Fong was deliberately giving him time to recover in order to make him suffer the pain again. Seeing this scene, the geniuses outside were all shocked, especially the geniuses from the ancient god world. They had never seen such a ruthless method before. They also did not expect Su Fong to be so ruthless in his attacks. Fanshu's eyes were filled with resentment at first, then gradually turned to fear, and finally to despair. From the beginning to the end, the venerable emperors of Sanskrit did not say anything to stop them. As long as no one died, everything was tolerable. The venerable emperors naturally would not lose their face for a young disciple, unless the interests of Sanskrit were at stake. More than 2 hours later, Su Fong finally stopped. Fan Su had been targeting him in every way. This time, he had almost ruined his future. It was not too much to kill him. However, Su Fong naturally would not kill Fan Shu in front of so many people. He had plenty of ways to do so in the future. Kneel down and admit defeat. Fan Shu's will had long collapsed. When he heard Su Fong's voice, it was as if he had heard the voice of the heavenly Tao. He struggled to kneel down and kowtow to Su Fong. Su Fong smiled domineeringly. He wanted to use this domineering method to tell everyone that if anyone tried to harm him in the future, they should first consider whether they could bear the price. Su Fong wins and enters the top 10. Only Tao Emperor put away the array world, and his majestic voice echoed in the inner world of the seventh gate of heaven. After Su Fong recovered, many geniuses had already known that Su Fong would enter the top 10 and become the first genius to enter the heavenly realm of Yuan Tiangong. It was already set in stone. Fan Shu was just a foil. However, when they heard only Tao Emperor's voice, they were still envious. My wish has finally come true. Su Fong was overjoyed, and his eyes flashed with a burning light. Entering the top 10 meant that he would have at least 300,000 places to enter the Yuan Tiangong. It also meant that he could enter the heavenly realm of Yuan Tiangong and enjoy cultivation resources that no other genius in the whole universe could enjoy. At the same time, it also meant that the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan would not dare to manipulate Xuanxin's fate at will. He would no longer have to worry about the suppression and bullying of those powerful forces in the Divine Clan, at least on the surface. At this moment, scenes from the small world to the present flashed through Su Fong's mind. A good-for-nothing who could not cultivate had gone through so much hardship to reach where he was today. It made him feel like he was in a dream. A strong sense of self-confidence lingered in his heart. Eventually, it silently merged with his Tao heart, causing it to become even more stable like a boulder. Entering the heavenly realm of Yuan Tiangong is just the first step, and not my final goal. I am still far from the true peak. Su Fong regulated his breathing and gradually calmed down. His deep eyes were filled with incomparable determination. At this moment, in the origin sacred mirror deep inside Su Fong's body, a pair of ethereal eyes flashed in the black mirror in the middle of space, as if they could see through everything outside. It turned out that Shu Wan had been paying attention to Su Fong all this time. In just 200,000 years, that puny cultivator from the small world has grown to such a level. It's really unbelievable. It's a pity that I am trapped inside the divine palace of Advent. Otherwise, I would definitely have a place in the top 10. As soon as Shu Wan's cold voice fell, the mirror carrying her eyes disappeared into the void in the middle of the ancient mirror. Only Tao Emperor glanced at Su Fong and secretly nodded. This child's Tao heart is stable, and his state of mind is like water. Coupled with his talent and providence, he may be able to reach the peak in the future. It's a pity. There are less than 10 million years left. The opening of the exalted celestial mountain was originally less than 1,000,000 years. Due to the sixth mutation, the supreme existence sealed the periphery of the exalted celestial mountain again to prevent further mutations from erupting. At the same time, it also delayed the opening of the exalted celestial mountain. However, after 10 million years, all the worlds in the universe would face a disaster of destruction. Only Tao Emperor's gaze swept past Su Fong, Goddess Luo, and Di Yuan. Whether all the worlds in the universe can survive this calamity depends on all of you. The battle for the top 10 was still ongoing. Outside the seventh gate of heaven, there was a complete uproar. Out of the 4 golden lists, the only one that was empty was the heaven list. At this time, there was finally one more name, Su Fong. The Blue Dome Domain Lord, Star Billow Domain Lord, and other experts from the Blue Dome Domain had completely lost their demeanor at this time. They were all cheering loudly. Su Fong entering the top 10 not only meant that Su Fong's previous promise would not be missed, but also that the Blue Dome Domain would become famous because of this. This was a great honor for everyone in the Blue Dome Domain. Xian Lingzi and Xu Yunkong looked at each other and laughed. As they laughed, tears flowed down their faces. Many experts of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan fell silent. Can the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan really conclude that Su Fong will not have the ability to shake the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan in the future? Chapter 2192. Su Fong became the first peerless genius to enter Yuan Tiangong's Heavenly Realm Training Hall, attracting the attention of everyone. However, he quickly recovered from his great joy and sat cross-legged on the platform, cultivating the 9 Yang 9 transformations, striving to successfully form the 69th Yang Meridian as soon as possible. After devouring Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Heaven Fire, the 69th Yang Meridian was about to be formed, but it would take some time before it could be successfully formed. There was still about a third of the Heaven Fire that he had devoured that had yet to fuse, which was just enough to form the Yang Meridian. In addition, Su Fong gave a portion of the prehistoric inflammation. This time, the prehistoric inflammation played an important role in being able to devour Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord's Heaven Fire, so it naturally had to be heavily rewarded. The prehistoric inflammation was originally a primordial treasure, a spiritual object of heaven and earth. Over the years, it had absorbed a large amount of Origin Yang energy from the Origin Sacred Mirror, devoured some of the Flame Demon's power, and countless fire-type spiritual objects. It had already surpassed the strength of an adult prehistoric inflammation. When the prehistoric inflammation fused with this portion of Heaven Fire, it would definitely undergo a great transformation. The prehistoric inflammation had the special ability to turn everything in the world into flames and control these flames. In the future, it would be another trump card of Su Fong. While Su Fong was forming the Yang Meridian, the battle for the top 10 was still going on in an orderly manner. After this round, Xuanqin successfully won another round, and Goddess Luo also succeeded in her challenge, once again ascending to the position of champion. As for Di Yuan, under the gazes of many geniuses and the secret attention of many sovereigns, he easily defeated the last challenger, becoming the second person to enter the top 10 after Su Fong. Di Yuan entering the top 10 had long been within everyone's expectations. Although it caused quite a stir, it was not as big as the one caused by Su Fong. Di Yuan glanced at Su Fong casually and transmitted his voice, Su Fong. In the battle for the top 100, Di Yuan had almost stopped Xuanqin outside the top 100 and injured Xuanqin. Su Fong did not have a good impression of this person, and sooner or later, he would seek justice for Xuanqin. Therefore, Su Fong's tone was very cold. Young Sovereign Di Yuan, what do you want to teach me? This young sovereign originally planned to fight with you in the top 10, but because Luo Yang, Fan Shu, and the others bullied you, this young master did not take advantage of others' difficulties, so I gave you a chance to enter the Yuan Tiangong's Heavenly Realm Dojo. Among the countless geniuses, and Heavenly Realm Dojo's Fong Dojo's heavens. After entering the Heavenly Realm Dao Right Temple, you'll have to work even harder. I'll challenge you, so don't disappoint me. Di Yuan's lofty words made the fury in Su Fong's heart rise. Su Fong snorted and said coldly, I won the chance to enter the Yuan Tiangong's Heavenly Realm Dojo with my own strength, not with young Sovereign Di Yuan's reward. Young Sovereign Di Yuan, please don't think too highly of yourself. Di Yuan snorted inexplicably and said, the universe, the small world, the great world, and all other realms, including the Yuan Tiangong, all belong to the imperial people. The Yuan Tiangong selection of geniuses is nothing more than a selection of slaves to serve my people. This young Sovereign Di Yuan said that I'm rewarding you with the chance to enter the Yuan Tiangong. Am I wrong? Su Fong looked at Di Yuan in disbelief. He did not expect this seemingly indifferent young sovereign of the imperial people to be so arrogant in his bones. He regarded everything in the world as belonging to the imperial people. It was true that the imperial people controlled the heavenly Tao of all realms. However, the heavenly Tao had its own strict rules. How could it be controlled by human strength? The imperial people controlled the heavenly Tao only to comply with the heavenly Tao and act according to the will of the heavenly Tao. Di Yuan regarded the universe as the private property of the imperial people. It was obvious how arrogant he was. Then Su Fong mocked. If I tell those venerable sovereigns what young sovereign Di Yuan said, I wonder what they will think. Di Yuan snorted and did not say anything else. The conversation with Di Yuan ended. Su Fong looked at Celestial Bao. Celestial Bao, you can tell me about the heavenly fire divine Lord now. Celestial Bao did not hide anything. He told Celestial Bao about his experiences after ascending to the heavenly Tao, as well as the heavenly fire divine Lord. It turned out that after Celestial Bao left the boundless secular palace, he ascended to the heavenly Tao through the road to the heavenly Tao. Celestial Bao was a unique human-shaped divine artifact in the world. His cultivation talent was unparalleled, and he grew rapidly after ascending. However, Celestial Bao's true metamorphosis was when he met the heavenly fire divine Lord. Celestial Bao's method of advancement was completely different from other gods. He needed to devour natural spiritual objects and use flames to constantly refine his divine body. The higher the level of the flame, the more beneficial it was for his cultivation. Therefore, Celestial Bao searched for all kinds of divine fires and strange fires to refine his divine body. Once, he encountered the heavenly fire divine Lord in a plain that was filled with heavenly fire. The heavenly fire divine Lord was the #1 refining master in the heavenly Tao. He could tell at a glance that Celestial Bao was a human-shaped divine artifact. He was immediately shocked and surprised. He took action to shackle Celestial Bao. Although Celestial Bao was extraordinary, the heavenly fire divine Lord was an extremely powerful overgod. Shackling Celestial Bao was a piece of cake. The heavenly fire divine Lord sealed Celestial Bao's essence soul. In the following tens of thousands of years, he constantly modified Celestial Bao. Of course, his main goal was not to nurture Celestial Bao, but to gain insights into the great Tao of refining from him. Did the heavenly fire divine Lord learn about me from you? Su Fong's heart sank. The purple cloud's Dharma spirit had become perfect because it had absorbed the fortune purple clouds produced when Celestial Bao was born. The heavenly fire divine Lord was a top refining master in the heavenly Tao. If he knew that Su Fong had the purple cloud's Dharma spirit, how could he not be tempted? Celestial Bao answered truthfully, "The heavenly fire shackled me and used a soul-searching technique on me. As long as I know something about you, he naturally knows everything. He instructed me to challenge you to verify the purple cloud's Dharma spirit. The heavenly fire divine Lord actually has designs on the purple cloud's Dharma spirit." Su Fong felt immense pressure envelop him, but he felt no fear. Back in the Great World, immortal Emperor Tian Ong had attempted to snatch Su Fong's purple cloud's Dharma spirit. Back then, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. What was the final outcome? Although the heavenly fire divine Lord was powerful, Su Fong was no pushover. What could the heavenly fire divine Lord do? The heavenly fire divine Lord doesn't dare openly snatch the purple cloud's Dharma spirit, but he definitely won't let it go in secret. I have to be careful of him in the future. I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life if you try to snatch something from Su Fong. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. QL11 then, he asked, "I help you wipe away the heavenly fire divine Lord's essence soul imprint. Although the heavenly fire divine Lord is unable to directly control you, he is still an overgod expert. How are you going to escape his control? It's not like many Emperor Realm experts are unaware of my background, but I was still able to enter the Yuan Tiangong. It's clear that the Yuan Tiangong experts think highly of my talent. My performance at the palace entrance test has also attracted the attention of many experts. When I enter the Yuan Tiangong and become a disciple of an Emperor Realm expert, what can the heavenly fire divine Lord do to me?" Celestial Bao was clearly prepared. He looked confident. "You're on your own. You're the product of Emperor Celestial Bao's heart's blood. At the same time, you've also fused with my blood essence. I hope you can reach the peak and live up to the name of Celestial Bao." Su Fong, Thank you very much. If I need a master in the future, there's no one else but you. Su Fong smiled and said no more. The battle for the top 10 continued. Only geniuses who won 10 matches in a row were qualified to enter the Yuan Tiangong's Heavenly Realm Dojo. However, only Su Fong and Di Yuan had won so far. The Yuan Tiangong had long expected that there would be less than 10 people. Only Dao Emperor issued a new set of rules. The challenges continued. Except for geniuses who had already met each other, they couldn't challenge each other again. Every other 2 geniuses had to meet each other. In the end, if no one reached the standard of winning 10 matches in a row, the 10 places to enter the Heavenly Realm Dojo would be filled according to the number of matches won. As for the ranking of the top 10, it was no longer determined through challenges. Instead, it was decided by the overall performance of the Yuan Tiangong experts through the 7 gates of heaven. However, other than the extra places to enter the Yuan Tiangong, the top 10 would all enter the Heavenly Realm Dojo. There were no other benefits, but more fame and glory. The following battles would be long and drawn out. Su Fong split his Yang spirit to pay attention to Xuanxin and Goddess Luo while attacking the Yang Meridian. Goddess Luo displayed a terrifying strength second only to Di Yuan. After regaining the position of Arena Lord, she was invincible. In the end, she won 10 matches in a row. After Su Fong and Di Yuan, she was the 3rd person to enter the top 10. Compared to Goddess Luo, Xuanxin was obviously inferior. However, his performance was still stunning. Although he was challenged again not long after regaining the position of Arena Lord, he still had the possibility of entering the top 10 with a number of matches he won. Tian Bao also issued challenges again and again, but he won more than he lost. On the other hand, Fan Shu, Il Luoyang, and Luo Xingtian had completely lost the possibility of entering the top 10. Not only were they injured, but their Dao hearts were also damaged. Their willpower was also thwarted. Even if they had heaven-defying pills and spiritual items, it would be difficult for them to recover. About half a year later, Su Fong, who was sitting cross-legged on the platform, was cultivating the 9 Yang 9 transformations. Suddenly, there was a movement in his body. It turned out that the 69th Yang Meridian was about to be born. Su Fong was pleasantly surprised. Without hesitation, he took out the heaven-shrouding star flag and activated it to cover the entire platform. Su Fong did not want others to see his cultivation progress. He planned to use the power of the divine artifact to block the detection ability of others. The heaven-shrouding star flag was a half-creatable divine artifact. It had the powerful ability to block detection. With Su Fong's current strength, activating the heaven-shrouding star flag would not be able to block the detection of Emperor Realm experts. However, those Emperor Realm experts would not be so bored as to sense the cultivation of a Hierarch Realm expert. After he was ready, Su Fong checked the Yin Yang Dao wheel. The 69th meridian that was being attacked started to burn with a shocking Yang Qi flame. It was on the verge of being born. Su Fong began to activate all the energy in his body to attack the Yang meridian. He didn't know how many times he had attacked the meridian, but with a bang, the meridian shook violently. Then a profound light of Yang energy exploded, and the meridian instantly turned into a jade-like Yang meridian.